A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all-old-time radio.
Jerry of the Circus. For Jerry of the Circus.
Here, Rags. Here, boy. You quit running around so much in this backyard. Stay right by me. I'm not going over to our wagon. I'm going over to Johnny Bradley's wagon. I'm going to tell him about the party last night. Come here now. Just 'cause your leg is well, you can't have to show off and run so fast. Now, you wait right here. Mr. Bradley. Oh, Mr. Bradley. Guess he's not here yet. Well, we'll just wait around for him. What do you say? Hey, how about some tricks? Think you can jump up on my shoulder like you do with Bumps? Okay, let's try it. 1, 2, 3, up. Good boy, good for you. Now let's see if you can jump down to my foot and somersault back up to my shoulder again. Ready? Go. Hooray for you, Rag. You're all right. You know, I bet you and I could do Bumps act without any trouble. I'm glad to know that, too, because Mr. Randall said I was the understudy, and I have to be able to do all of the clown's acts. Now, let's try that double somersault now. No, getting back of me like you do with Bumps. That's the fella. Now, ready? 1, 2, 3, go up. Golly, you did it. Oh, Johnny, I mean, Mr. Bradley, I didn't see you.
Well, I just got here, Jerry. Just in time to see that last trick.
I was just putting Rags through some of his stunts to see if he could do them with me as well as he does with Bumps.
Well, I should say there's little doubt about that after witnessing your demonstration.
Yeah, he does the tricks just as easy with me as he does them with Bumps. I'll bet he'd even work with you if you'd give him the right cues.
Yes, I believe he would. I've said before, but it bears repeating. That dog is a mighty fine trooper.
You sure are, Rags.
Want to come into the wagon, Jerry? I've got a few things I have to do.
Uh-huh. I came over here looking for you.
Well, fine. Come in, then. Did you have something special on your mind?
Just about the party last night. I wanted to tell you about it.
Good. Sit down, Jerry. Make yourself comfortable.
Thanks. Lie down here, Rags. You sure missed out on a good time, Mr. Bradley.
You had a nice time, did you?
Oh, it was a keen party. Mr. Grayson sure made us feel at home. We had spaghetti, all kinds of sandwiches, and even ice cream and cake.
Well, that sounds good.
It was. And Jason told us a lot of stories about wild animals and told us how he started to be a trainer when he was real young. And then Mr. Grayson told us about law school and all about the hard things he had to study to become a lawyer.
He seems to be a nice sort of person.
Oh, Mr. Grayson's nice, all right. And is he smart?
He is?
Uh-huh. He says he gets his smartness from his father.
He said that?
He sure did. He thinks a lot of his father.
But what did he say about him, Jerry?
Well, his father is an actor. A pretty big one, I guess.
Is that so?
Yeah. And it was his father who sent him through law school.
What else did he say about his father, though, Jerry?
He said he owed everything to his father. And he's trying awful hard to make good for his sake.
My, that's a nice thought.
Yeah, he sure is a real nice man, all right.
Oh, what else did you do at the party, Jerry?
Oh, we played some games, and then Mr. Grayson did some tricks for us.
Did he do the one where he puts a coin on the back of each finger and then throws them up and catches them all with the same hand?
Yeah. How did you know?
Why, I thought he'd do that. You see, that's an old trick. I mean, he probably learned that at school.
Oh, uh-huh. And then we played the radio, and Patsy and Jason danced together. I sure wish you could have been there with us. I know you'd have had a nice time, too, because Bump sure enjoyed himself.
Yes, I guess I did miss quite a lot, Jerry. And not only last night. I've missed a lot all through life. But alas, there is never a loss without a gain, so I must be grateful for the good fortune that has come my way.
That's what my father always told me. He said if I give thanks for the little things, I'd soon be giving thanks for bigger things.
Truer words were never spoken, Jerry. That's a sound bit of advice. Now, let me see. What was it I had to do? Oh, yes, I must fix Lulu's hat. Here we are.
What are you going to do with it?
Oh, I fear the elastic has had its day. I must replace it with a new piece.
Yeah, I noticed that the hat keeps slipping off Lulu's head.
And Lulu's not the kind of a duck that likes to be untidy. She's very fussy about her costume, such as it is.
She sure is a smart duck, all right. How did you ever train her?
It wasn't difficult, Jerry. You see, ducks are timid, but once you gain their confidence and make a pet of them, they become very manageable. It may surprise you to know that I think an awful lot of Lulu.
No, that doesn't surprise me. Lulu's your pal, just like Rags is mine.
That's it, exactly. She is my pal, and a very understanding friend, too. Just like a dog, she seems to sense my moods, and I appreciate that.
They sure do understand a lot. Golly, I don't know what I'd have done without Rags when I was left all alone.
Well, there, that's finished. Now that hat should fit properly.
It didn't take you long. You know how to sew, all right.
Necessity teaches us to do a lot of things around the circus, Jerry.
Say, look. Look who's out there.
Well, who is it? Oh, it's Bumps. Hello, Bumps.
Looking for me?
Oh, there you are, Jerry.
Come on in.
I'm coming.
Jerry and I were just visiting.
I was telling Mr. Bradley about the party last night.
Oh, and that was a party. You missed something, Johnny.
So Jerry tells me.
Did you tell Johnny about all the spaghetti I ate?
No, he didn't mention a word of it.
Golly, I forgot all about that.
Well, don't see how you could let that slip your mind, Jerry. You had a couple of plates full yourself.
And it sure was good. Sally's a wonderful cook. She's going to marry Mr. Grayson pretty soon.
Yeah, so he told me. Tell me about her, Jerry.
When he introduced her to us, he said they're waiting until he's doing better in his law office, and then they're going to get married.
Oh, and she's real nice, is she?
Oh, she's a mighty fine girl, Johnny.
Well, I'm glad. I mean, it's nice to see a young man like Richard Grayson find a good life's partner.
Yes, it is.
Did you want me for something, Bumps?
Oh, no, nothing special, Jerry. I think I'll take Rags and put him through some stunts.
I just had him doing some of the tricks you do with him.
Yes, and Jerry finds that Rags works just as well with him as he does with you, Bumps.
Oh, is that so? Well, does he do the shoulder jumps and somersaults, too?
Sure he does. He does every one of the tricks with me.
Well, I was just thinking maybe I'd try a few new ones.
Well, what kind?
Oh, I don't know. I'll figure something out.
You just leave it to Bumps to figure out something new to do.
Why don't you teach him to jump through a hoop of fire?
Oh, no, Jerry, I don't think that'd be so good. You see, after Jason has that leopard jump through the ring of flame, or to see Rags do it, well, wouldn't be any novelty at all.
You know what? I don't see how Jason ever got that leopard to jump through fire like that.
Well, fire is an animal's worst enemy. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, but Jason's clever. If anyone in the world can get one of those big cats to do an astounding trick, well, he can.
Yeah, he's sure a good wild animal trainer.
Well, I think I'd better get at those tricks. I'm going to do it before lunch. Oh, well, now, where's my partner, Rags?
There he is, Bumps. Laying down there by that trunk. I guess he's asleep.
Oh, Rags? Rags.
He's sleeping all right.
Come on, fella, wake up.
Rags, we're calling you.
Well, Rags, I'm going to teach you a few new tricks.
Can I go with you and watch?
I don't see why not. Rags is still your dog, even if he is my partner in the show.
Well, I'll see you later, Mr. Bradley.
All right, Jerry, and thank you for the visit. It was nice of you to come over and tell me about the party.
Well, goodbye, Johnny. Come on, Rags.
Goodbye.
Come on.
Goodbye, Jerry.
Oh, hello there, Mr. Randall.
Morning, Mr. Randall.
Oh, hello, Bumps and Jerry. Where are you heading?
We were just in Mr. Bradley's wagon visiting him, and now we're going over to the big top to rehearse Rags and some new tricks.
Oh, Johnny in there?
Oh, yeah, sure, Sam.
I want to have a little talk with him. I'll see you after a while.
All right.
Well,
Goodbye.
Can I come in, Johnny?
Well, Mr. Randall, surely. Come in, come in. When the door's open, I'm always receiving visitors.
There's something I'd like to take up with you, Johnny.
Yes, Mr. Randall?
It's about you and your son. You know, Johnny, I think you should go see him while we're playing here. I really do.
Oh, no, Mr. Randall. That would never do. Never would I have my boy know that his father is a clown. He knows my histrionic ability, and it would hurt him.
I know. You've been telling him in your letters that you've been doing big things on the stage.
Well, not because I want him to think his father is a great man or anything like that, but I know the boy, and I feel I'm doing the right thing.
Now, wait a minute. You'd like to see him, wouldn't you? Have a nice long talk.
Oh, indeed I would, yes, sir.
Well, then, why not go see him and not let him know that you're with the circus?
How could that be done?
Well, isn't there some excuse for you to pay him a visit?
Well, yes, there is. I've saved up $100 that I was going to mail to him.
So you can take it to him instead. Tell him you're just passing through town on business.
Yes, I could do that.
Of course you could. You'd make that boy of yours very happy. And there's little question about how much pleasure you'd get in seeing him.
Perhaps I could tell him that I'm passing through with someone and that they're waiting for me at the railroad station.
Yes, that's all right.
I'll make my visit very brief so he won't gather anything from my conversation.
You let your boy do most of the talking. After all, you want to find out as much as you can about how he's getting along. You just keep asking him questions about himself, and he'll be so busy answering them, he won't have time to ask you any.
Oh, the very thought of seeing him and having a talk makes my old heart skip a beat or two. I'll do it.
Good. Go to his office today. We're leaving tonight, you know. You'll feel like a new man after you see him.
But my clothes are none too good, Mr. Randall.
No, don't let that stop you. Your son will think you're doing very well when he sees this on your finger.
Mr. Randall, your diamond ring. Oh, it's beautiful, but, I couldn't wear it.
Oh, yes, you can. Go ahead, put it on. I think you look prosperous enough.
I'll do it. Oh, but how can I ever thank you, sir?
No, you don't have to thank me. I feel that you should see your boy and have a talk with him. You'll both enjoy it.
Oh, I know we will.
Your whole life is wrapped up in that son of yours, and to pass through Jackson City without seeing him would be a crime.
You have a heart of gold, Mr.
Oh,
Randall.
not at all, Johnny. I'm just human.
I'll go to Richard's office this afternoon, Mr. Randall. Oh, this will be a milestone in my life.
Mutual presents Arch Oboler's Plays. The Mutual Broadcasting System has the pleasure of presenting the third broadcast of a special 26-week series of plays by radio playwright Arch Oboler. In this series, we hope to bring you dramas full of the excitement and the meaning of plays told in relation to the expanding world in which we live. The play will be introduced by Arch Oboler.
Everyone is talking about the post-war home. Houses that'll be bought in packages and erected while you wait with a tack hammer and a button hook. They talk about vacuum glass walls and radiant heating and coal lighting and organic living and kitchen sinks which will include everything but the kitchen sink. I read these notes about the brave new house, and then I heard a song. And by that peculiar reverse alchemy of a playwright's mind, I've written a play, which my friend Raymond Massey will now bring you, which is about the house I live in, but which has nothing to do with plastics or packaged conveniences, but which has to do with a man's heart.
I want to tell you about the house I live in. I want to tell you how the house that had been mine lost its walls, and all the rooms were filled with rubble, and a dust arose. And when I looked again, the house was gone.
Was it a bomb that fell?
Bomb? Bomber over Elm Street, USA?
But you say your house disappeared. How did it disappear?
I'm going to tell you. The morning began as so many others had begun since Tom and Elsa had gone. Again, I hadn't slept. I opened the front door, stood on the front porch, and watched the daylight slowly wake up the street. It had rained during the night. I had listened to every drop. And now the light lit up the wet leaves as the trees shook themselves in the morning wind. Another day, and I was waiting for 8 o'clock.
Sorry, Mr. Rogers, nothing today.
You sure? Perhaps the letter...
Sorry, Mr. Rogers, nothing today. Maybe it'll come tomorrow.
I already knew about tomorrow.
Sorry, Mr. Rogers, nothing today. You know, it takes a long time for a letter to get to Elm Street from Japan.
I went back into the house. Chairs, tables, sofa. The piano Elsa had played. The piano Elsa had played. I went upstairs. Tom's room just as it had been. His bed, his typewriter on the desk, his track shoes hanging from the side of that chair he had made in manual training. Just the way it had been that last night.
Sure, Dad, sure, all packed. Come on in, sit down. Socks? What do I want to take more socks for? But, Dad, didn't you ever hear of GI issue? Say, Dad, will you do something for me? All this junk here, will you hand it out to those Margolis kids down the street? Yeah, the baseball and the mitt. Remember when I broke my thumb on that hot liner? Oh, you better not give him the football until fall, because if you give it to him now, there won't be much of it left by then. Hey, Dad, did you hear about that? I'm getting farsighted. Dad, my track shoes, everything but my track shoes. I'll be doing a little running when I get back, if I'm still young enough. Me and my long gray beard doing the high hurdles. Oh, come on, Dad, it isn't as bad. Well, look, I'll be back soon. Don't you read the papers? What? Well, this war with the Japolas won't last 6 months once I get over there. Dad, Well, this is just a guess, but I got a hunch we'll be starting to bomb Tokyo soon. Well, it's just a hunch, but if it happens, I'm going to be in on it, and, well, I'll send you a bird's-eye picture of the Emperor's horse. Dad, something else. And we almost got married last week, and then we didn't. Yeah. Well, no, it was me. I wanted her to have a chance to change her mind if I stayed away too long. She found out that absence didn't make the heart. Well, you know. If she needs anything, well, keep an eye on her, will you? Thanks. How much time have I got left? Is that all? Your watch, you sure your watch? Okay. I just want to sit here a little bit and look around. Yeah. Funny, I've always had so much time. Now I've only got enough to sit here. It's a swell room. A good house. And a good life. Hey, brought some flowers. Okay, Dad, get the car out. I'm all ready to go.
Ready to go. Ready to go where? Tom, if I only knew where you were. Or if you were. Elsa's room. The silly room, I'd call it, with its frippery, billowing curtains, cretonne flounces on the dressing table at which she'd sat so many times, covering with glamour a face that was so very young.
Of course, Dad, come on in. Dad, do you think this makeup's too dark? My lipstick? Well, I know it's red. It's the reddest I could get. Oh, Dad, this is a terrible thing to say, but I'm going to miss dressing up like this. Oh, that's silly. It's a beautiful uniform and a beautiful chance, and I want it. I'll miss all the frills. If they heard me talk, they'd pull up the gangplank before I got there. Tomorrow? 6 o'clock. Dad, I'd rather you didn't come down to the station. No, it isn't that. I just don't want... Dad, please. Just the way you did when Tom... Just let me go alone. Thank you, darling. Dad, I may not get another chance, so I'll say it again. Please, please don't forget to take the coffee pot off the stove every morning. If you burn the bottom out of it, I'll... All right, I believe you. And eat right, Dad. Vegetables. Please have at least one vegetable a day. And beer isn't a vegetable. If I come back and find you as fat as Patty's pig, I'm going to... Oh, Dad, I wish I had another week. Even another day. Make sure you'll be all right. I think I've arranged everything about the meals and the laundry and about the cleaning. If I were only sure you'd be all right. Oh, I shouldn't talk like that. You'll be all right, and I'll be all right, and Tom is all right. Gosh, I'm late for my date. Turn out the lights for me, will you, Dad?
Everything as it had been, but now a place I couldn't stay in. Out into the street, to walk as I had done so many times before, until the circle of my aimless steps brought me back to this empty house I lived in. I had made the walk so many times. 50 steps and that silly little Pekingese of Mrs. Englehart's would see me pass and yap at me. Another dozen steps and the broken piece of sidewalk in front of the Andrews place. Then the iron picket fence Tom used to run along when he was small, banging his stick along the iron pickets as he ran, so half the neighborhood knew his nibs was free of school for another day. I passed a big oak tree where Elsa would stand with her girlfriends when she was very young and giggle when the latest football hero passed. Laughter. Children's laughter. They'd laugh, too. They'd been full of laughter, my children.
Oh, no.
Tom, this one. Look at this one.
Holy... Oh, wait a minute. Give me that.
Oh, no.
Dad, make her give it to me. Elsa, give
Oh, no. This one goes to your commanding officer.
Elsa, if you don't give me that picture...
It's a museum.
Elsa, I'm coming around that table and break your neck.
Listen, Tragstar, I won't do you any good. I've got duplicates.
No, Elsa. Dad, don't just stand there. Do something.
Take any chance. I've got 2 dozen printed up.
Oh, Dad, you shouldn't have given it.
He said to clean out the drawer, so I did.
but Elsa...
I'll mail it to Hap Arnold, and they'll paint it on the nose of your bum.
My sister, you snake on the grass?
Pretty words won't get you anywhere.
Please.
This makes up for every time you paddled me.
Elsa.
Oh, Dad, this is the most wonderful going-away present.
Elsa, dear.
My beautiful, conceited brother at the age of 3 riding naked on a white horse. Oh, brother.
My steps went past the children's laughter. The endless circle of my aimless steps. Johnson's boy suddenly was there, walking alongside of me.
Can I walk with you, Mr. Rogers?
All right.
I heard a funny joke today. A man was riding along and he got lost. You know, he didn't know where he was, and he went up to a farmer and he said to the farmer, "Where's the road to town?" The farmer said, "I don't know." And the fellow said, "Well, where's the road to the other town?" The farmer said, "I don't know." And the fellow said, "Well, where's the road to some other town?" The farmer said, "I don't know." And the fellow said, "You don't know much, do you?" And the farmer said, "No, but I ain't lost." Funny joke, huh, Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, very funny.
I got a new harmonica.
Have you?
Do you play the harmonica?
No.
I can. My ma said, "Please get out of the house if you're going to play that. I got a headache." Why do heads ache, Mr. Rogers?
Loud noises, unnecessary conversations, worry.
You got worries, Mr. Rogers?
What's that song you were playing? A moment ago.
I don't know. You got worries, Mr. Rogers?
Play your harmonica, son.
Okay.
He kept playing as he walked alongside of me. Suddenly I realized that his eyes were on me, as if he wanted to say something to me, yet was afraid to speak. And then he did speak.
You take such big steps, Mr. Rogers.
Sorry. That better?
Yes.
You going anywhere in particular, son?
No, sir.
No school today?
Saturday.
Oh, I forgot.
You didn't know it was Saturday?
Sometimes one day gets to be like another.
Mr. Rogers, listen, you must wait. Jimmy Doolittle go over with 1,000 flying forts, and he'll get Tom out. You just wait and see. Jimmy Doolittle get him away from those Japs. Honest, he will.
And then he was gone. I kept on walking. Then this thought. The boy, this neighbor boy, his meeting and walking with me had not been accidental. He had wanted to walk with me and say what he had said. 1,000 flying fortresses, headed up by Superman, I suppose, with Tarzan of the Apes leading a charge of elephants toward my son's prison camp. Prison camp. I didn't even know if he was in a prison camp. Those devils. What had they done to my son?
Good morning, Mr. Rogers. How are you this morning? I'm your neighbor, Mrs. Gibson.
A woman. Yes, a neighbor. I seen her once or twice as I'd walk by. And now she was there walking with me, a grocery bag in her arm, and talking to me.
Must have rained quite hard last night.
Yes, it did.
All the rain this spring has certainly done wonders for our lawns. I've noticed yours. It's very lovely.
Yeah.
Of course, the whole problem is to get someone to do the mowing. I saw you talking to little David Miller. I guess the smaller boys of this neighborhood will come into their own this year. What with the 12 and 14-year-olds all going off to help on the farms during their vacations.
If the grass grows tall, there will be no harm.
No, of course. No. Did you hear about the Griffith boy?
No.
He was out flying a kite, and it fell across those high-tension wires over on Oak Street. And he and some of the other boys got a ladder and put it across the telephone and telegraph post. And they were halfway up when Mr. Griffith came along. The Griffith boy had a metal fishing rod that he was going to use to lift the kite off the wires. Can you imagine that? He'd have been electrocuted if Mr. Griffith hadn't just happened to leave work early that day. If you ever expect them to grow up, you certainly have to watch your children every minute. I mean, I'm sorry, Mr. Rogers, I wonder if I could ask you something.
Yeah?
Well, I know your daughter Elsa has been overseas for a long time, but my daughter Peggy is joining up, and you can understand how excited I've been. I was wondering if you could tell me anything that would...
You were saying?
I was just finding an excuse to talk to you. Peggy is joined up and gone, and I've watched you walk by my house every day. And today I started off to market just at this time, just so that I could have an excuse to tell you that Mr. Gibson and I would like very much to have you come to dinner some night this week. No, don't say yes or no now. Just think about it, and whenever you'd like to come over, just let us know. Goodbye.
Turned and went. I'd walked along this street morning after morning, hundreds of mornings from the day after the news came that Tom wouldn't be back, and Elsa left the house to join up. Morning after morning, and all was it had been alone. And now this, a boy, a woman, childish prattle, feminine dinner-making. What was this today? Suddenly I heard that tune again, the one the boy had been playing. One of the houses along the street, a Negro woman singing as she swept the front porch.
The house I live in, the friends that I have found, the folks beyond the railroad, and the people all around, the farmer and the worker, the sailor on the sea, the men who built this country, that's America to me. The house I live in, my neighbors white and black, the people who just came here are from generations back. The town hall and the soapbox, the torch of liberty, a home for all God's children. That's America to me. The words of old Abe Lincoln, of Jefferson and Payne, of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and the that still remain. Our little bridge at Concord, where freedom's fight began. Our Gettysburg and Midway, and the story of Bataan. The house I live in, the goodness everywhere, a land of wealth and beauty, with enough for all to share. The house that we call freedom, the home of liberty, with a promise for tomorrow. That's a miracle to me.
House I live in. The house I lived in was an empty house.
It's a wonderful song, isn't it, Mr. Rogers?
I turned. Who? And then I saw it was Anne. My Tom's Anne.
I said, that's a wonderful song.
Hello, Anne.
Hello. You going anywhere in particular?
I was just walking.
Mind if I walk with you?
No. Of course not. I'm glad to see you. How have you been?
Fine, Mr. Rogers. Fine.
I haven't seen you for quite some time.
Almost a year.
Has it been that long?
Yes, it has.
I had no idea.
Mother and I have wanted very much to see you.
I'm sorry. I've been very busy.
I know. Your war work. Yet surely you could have found some time to come visit us.
I'm sorry.
It's going well.
What's going well?
The war.
Is it?
Did you know it rained last night?
Yes, I know.
I opened my window and lay on the bed and watched it. It was a strange sort of rain. So soft and fine. It wasn't as if it was rain at all. When it began to get light, every drop seemed to be dancing as it fell.
You didn't sleep?
I was thinking. Mr. Rogers, we've missed you very much. Why didn't you come see us?
I'm sorry, dear. I don't go out these days at all. I go down to the plant. I do everything I can. When I come home, I like to shut the door and be quite alone. I'm sure you understand.
Yet each morning you come out of the house and walk the street.
How do you know that?
I've watched you. We all have. You're very lonely, Mr. Rogers.
Yes, I am.
I was, too.
Was? You heard from Tom?
No, I didn't.
Then the War Department, why should they write you? Why not me? Why didn't
Mr.
they...
Mr. Rogers, please, there's been nothing. No letter.
Then what? Tell me.
I don't know how.
I see. All right, that's natural. Why not? You've been away so long. Why shouldn't you find someone else?
Oh, no, that's not it. Of course not. Why won't you understand?
Understand what? You say you're not lonely anymore, and I'm supposed to understand. Understand what? That you're young, that you can forget. But can I forget my son? Can I forget what he said, how he looked, how he... What have I got left but a lonely house?
I stopped being lonely the day one of the neighborhood women, stopped me on the street. She asked me where she and some of the others could send packages to Tom.
Our Tom?
Yes, ours.
I don't understand. Why should they... What was Tom to them?
Tom mattered to a lot of people on this street. I suddenly began to realize that he mattered on many other streets where they didn't know his name or who he was.
Why, Ann? Why?
Because Tom isn't just ours anymore. What had happened to him mattered to everybody back home who has a sweetheart in this war. Or a husband. Or a son.
The house that I lived in lost its walls, and all the rooms were filled with rubble, and a dust arose. And when I looked again, my empty house was gone. And suddenly a new house arose, and it was filled with people. All the people to whom Tom mattered, even though they had never seen him, or didn't even know his name. All the people whose hearts were filled with the work and the troubles and the hopes of this war that my son and my daughter, yes, and I, were fighting. So this is the house I live in, a house of people. And there can be no walls, for sorrow knows no walls. And determined knows no walls. And there are no walls for faith.
Just heard Raymond Massey in The House I Live In, a new play by Arch Oboler. Included in the cast with Mr. Massey were Ann Shepard, Alfred Ryder, Mercedes McCambridge, and Hester Sundergaard. The song, The House I Live In, was written by Earl Robinson and Lewis Allen and was sung by Miss Hope Foy. The original music was set by Gordon Jenkins, and the orchestra was conducted by Sylvan Levin. Next week, from Hollywood, Mr. Oboler will bring you an original comedy entitled Love, 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 which is subtitled An Excursion into the Gentle Art. This will be the fourth in a special series of plays written, produced, and directed for the Mutual Broadcasting System by Arch Oboler. To conclude the program, Sylvan Levin and the orchestra bring you excerpts from Gordon Jenkins' original tone poem, This Living Book, dedicated to the free men of the free nations who are now meeting in San Francisco to plan a free tomorrow. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
And now, stay tuned for the mystery program that is unique among all mystery programs. Because even when you know who is guilty, you always receive a startling surprise at the final curtain. In the Signal Oil program, The Whistler. Signal, the famous Go Farther gasoline, invites you to sit back and enjoy another strange story by The Whistler.
am the Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
And now for the Signal Oil Company, the Whistler's Strange Story. Partners in Crime.
The Boston firm of Beneke and Woodruff, dealers in antiques, art objects, and rare books, has welcomed scholars and collectors into its long, narrow, and dimly lit showrooms for over 100 years. And since 1850, the same motto in neat gold letters on the plate glass window reads, "A firm of integrity." But Charles Beneke, one of the present owners of Beneke and Woodruff, is too restless a man to follow in the traditional footsteps of his forebears. Even now, though his policies have brought the firm to the brink of disaster, Charles remains self-assured and unruffled. As he enters the showrooms late in the afternoon, he walks back to the office of his partner, Paul Woodruff.
Oh, there you are, Paul.
Yes, here I am. Well?
I did some good.
Did you forge another letter by Keats, or was it Shakespeare this time?
Lower your voice.
What for?
Because if I have to spend the next 10 years in jail, I assure you, you will be in an adjoining cell.
Thanks. Okay, what happened?
They proved the Keats letter was a forgery. But they couldn't prove we, or should I say, I did it. But inasmuch as we guaranteed the letter in the bill of sale...
Never mind the fine print. How much?
Well, the judge awarded them $100,000.
$100,000? You know what that means? We're through. Now, look, I told you 5 years ago when you started working at this dirty racket that I didn't want any part of it.
But you never objected to sharing the profit.
That's a lie. I objected then, I object now. I never wanted to get rich quick.
Forget it. We've got to get busy.
Oh? Doing what? Putting the stock up for auction and filing the bankruptcy papers?
Not quite. I still have the genuine Tupou first edition of Bonelli's Fables locked away. Huntington Library offered $200,000 for it.
That was last month.
They'll go even higher this month.
I have a very unpleasant surprise for you. Another copy has turned up.
Somebody was pulling your leg. Ours is the only copy in existence.
Was. As you very well know, there were several copies turned out in the original printing. Another one has reared its ugly little head.
It's a forgery.
Yeah, sure. That's the first thing you'd think of. Well, it's not. They did an infrared check on the watermark, and Huntington says it's an exact duplicate of ours. Unmarked, perfect in every respect. Original Italian version, Bonelli's Fables, F. Tupou Press, first known printing, issued February 13th, 1485, complete with the woodcut borders. Do you want any more?
Who has it?
Elkin Arthur, London, is the agent for the book, but is still in possession of the guy who discovered it, Dr. Roger Brookhurst, lives in some London suburb.
What do they want for it?
Elkin Arthur figures they can swing the deal for around $50,000.
Ridiculously low. We have to get hold of that book.
How? Even if we had $50,000, which we don't, thanks to you, Huntington already has an option on it.
You seem rather pleased about the whole thing.
As a matter of fact, I am. Even if I have to lose my shirt, at least I'll be through with you and your shady deals.
Not just yet. I'm leaving town for a month, possibly longer. You'll remain in charge of the shop until I get back.
Oh? Who says I will?
I needn't remind you that in the eyes of the law, you're quite as involved in the so-called shady deals as I am. I would strongly urge you to remain at your post until I return.
Where are you going?
London, of course. And I'm not coming back until I get that other copy of Bonelli's Fables.
3 days later, you're aboard a World Airline Clipper, completing your trip across the Atlantic, aren't you, Charles? You lose no time sightseeing in London, do you? And after finding yourself in a quiet, fashionable apartment, you immediately put through a call to Dr. Roger Brookhurst.
Hello?
Dr. Brookhurst's office?
It's Dr. Brookhurst's residence.
I'd like to make an appointment to see him.
The doctor's no longer receiving patients.
Oh, I'm not sick. I wish to see the doctor on a business matter of extreme urgency.
I'm afraid Dr. Brookhurst will be unable.
Oh, please. I've come all the way from America to see him.
I'll do my best. Can't promise anything, but you may call at the house tomorrow at 4. you come in?
Thank you.
Oh, excuse me. This is Gerald Kimberley, Dr. Brooker's secretary, and...
Charles Beneke.
Please don't, sure. Forgive me, Yvonne. My head is splitting. I must be going. I'm sorry
I'll take care of it, Gerald. Don't worry.
Well, then, goodbye, Yvonne. And good day to you, sir.
Good day. Are you the doctor's daughter?
I'm his wife, but that is a compliment.
Oh, the truth.
Are all Americans like you?
In the presence of a beautiful woman.
In that case, I had better take you upstairs to see Roger immediately.
Well, if you insist.
I want to warn you. He's been an invalid for some time. Stomach disorder. It makes him very short-tempered.
I understand.
Oh, Roger, the gentleman who phoned is here.
Oh, yes, the American. Show him in.
How do you do, Doctor?
Not very well.
Sorry.
Well, sir, what is this urgent business that brings you to my door?
Your copy of Bonelli's Fables. You see...
No, I don't. Now, look here, sir. I don't care if you came all the way from the North Pole. I have had quite enough of book buyers, book sellers, and book traders. My agent is Elkins Arthur, 84 Charing Cross Road. Consult him if you care to, but kindly leave me and my household alone.
Well, I did tell you.
Oh, no fault of yours.
I try not to judge him, but cooped up with him day in and day out, well, it's just...
Can't you ever get away?
I can occasionally, but it's no fun by yourself.
Well, why don't you let me...
Oh, no. I didn't mean to hint. After all, you're a complete stranger.
All the more reason. Someone has to show me around London.
I couldn't.
Oh, nonsense. You can and you will. Let me take you out dancing somewhere after dinner tomorrow night. You can get away, can't you?
Easily. But do you really want to?
Oh, very much.
Well, all right, I'll do it.
Thank you. And I'm certain that neither of us will regret your decision. Yvonne.
You know, the sound effects they use for radio are mighty interesting. For instance, supposing I were to broadcast that message you see on Signal's cartoon billboards. Next time, go farther with Signal. Well, if I said that same thing over a filler microphone, here's how it would sound. Next time, go farther with Signal. On the other hand, through the echo chamber, it sounds like this. Next time, go farther with Signal. But really, friends, the important thing is not how you say something, but what you say. And the important thing to you drivers is that from Canada to Mexico, Signal has become famous as the Go Farther gasoline. After all, in order to give you such good mileage, today's Signal has to help your engine run more efficiently. And when your engine runs more efficiently, naturally you also enjoy quicker starting, peppier pickup, smoother power, more of the things that make driving more fun. So to be sure of both driving economy and driving pleasure, just be sure to fill up next time at a Signal station. And next time, go farther with Signal.
Well, Charles, it looked very bad when you first arrived in London. With Dr. Roger Brookhurst, the owner of the only other first edition of Bonelli's Fables, in very ill health and equally ill nature. It seemed as if you'd be completely unable to talk him out of his copy of the book, which you must have to ensure the value of the one which you and your partner in America now possess. But the doctor's wife is going to make a difference, isn't she? You two get along beautifully the first night that you take her out, don't you? Dining in a secluded restaurant, dancing afterwards, and then a romantic stroll along the Thames. You don't even mention the precious book until you're riding home together in a cab.
I don't know when I've enjoyed myself so much.
Oh, it has been a splendid evening. You know, I can't see how a woman of your beauty endures
Don't say it. I am married to Roger, and it's not his fault.
Well, all the same,
I don't want to think about it.
Very well.
This evening has been very strange. I feel as though I'd known you for years.
And I've missed you for years.
Charles,
What are you trying to say?
Nothing. Let's keep it light and gay.
All right. Let's discuss the subject you've avoided all evening.
I can't think of any.
Remember I came to London to get my hands on a rare book?
Oh, that.
Yeah? How do you know I haven't taken you out for a purpose?
I have had fun just the same.
Oh, you little idiot. Tell me, has your husband told you anything about the value of his Bonelli's fable?
No, he never discusses business affairs with me.
It's worth quite a lot of money, you know.
Really?
Yes. As much as 10,000 American dollars.
That much? Honestly?
That's right.
You see Yvonne the next Friday, and then the weekend after that. You're sure she's in love with you, Charles, and you're sure she loathes her husband. But you have to find a way of bringing it out into the open, of taking advantage of it to get that book. Luck is with you there, isn't it, Charles? For on Wednesday evening, as you walk hand in hand down a quiet lane, Yvonne turns to you.
You won't think I'm vicious, Charles, if I...
I know you're not.
It's about Roger. I can't stand it another minute. Day in, day out, jailed in that old house with that nagging invalid. I'm sorry, it's not his fault.
But you can't help what you feel.
It's true, I can't. I'm young and I want to taste life.
Of course you do.
Do you care anything about me at all, Charles? Don't lie or pretend, please.
I love you, Yvonne.
You're not just saying that to get hold of that old book, are you, Charles?
Yvonne, the book is important to me. I'm short of cash at the moment, and the client I represent will give me a handsome bonus for getting it, but, well, it has nothing to do with my love for you.
You don't have to explain. Oh, darling, what can we do?
Why don't you take the confounded book and run off with me? The devil take it off.
I want to. I wish I could.
Well, why can't you?
This scandal would kill my family.
Well, sometimes, Yvonne, we have...
No, Charles, it won't work. There must be some other way. If I could get a divorce, I'd...
Oh, that's impossible, isn't it?
Under the circumstances, yes. But you've got to help me, Charles.
There is another way.
What do you mean?
It could be done quickly, safely. No one would be the wiser.
No, Charles.
Your husband is in a great deal of pain, Yvonne.
No, not murder.
Don't forget I mentioned it. Perhaps we'd better say goodbye.
No. Wait. How would we do it if we decided to do it?
I assume Roger uses sleeping pills.
Yes.
A few extra in his glass of milk or tea,
And it would be all over.
Yes. Roger could leave a short note behind, explaining why he did it.
Oh, but his handwriting.
I've spent a good part of my life studying original manuscripts and letters. I'm something of an expert on handwriting.
I see. Oh, but I'm afraid, Charles. I'm very afraid.
Come here, darling.
Please hold me close, Charles. Hold me tight.
A few days later, Charles, as you sit in your lounging jacket reading a French novel, the phone rings.
Hello?
Charles,
Yes.
can you come tonight?
What time?
8.
All right.
Don't have the cab stop in front of the house.
No, of course not.
Be sure no one sees you.
I'll take every precaution.
8, then.
8.
I was afraid you wouldn't come.
You know I wouldn't let you down. Did you get everything?
Yes, in here.
These are his letters?
Yes, and they're recent, too.
Good.
Here's his pen.
Is this his usual stationery?
Yes.
Let me do a little practicing on this scratch pad.
Yvonne? Yvonne?
Yes? Yes, Roger?
Is there anyone down there in the sitting room with you?
Not really, Roger.
Not really? Now, what does that mean? Is there anyone down there or not? I heard voices.
Only a neighbor.
Well, what does he want?
Just to borrow a copy of the Times.
Oh, very well. But you might tell your neighbor that subscriptions are available at the Strand.
Yes, Roger.
And bring up my tea, please.
In a moment.
Now.
Maybe we shouldn't go through with it.
Slip the sleeping tablets into the tea.
What about the note? Are you sure?
It'll be perfect.
All right, then.
Yvonne! Yvonne!
Coming, Roger.
Well?
He's drinking the tea now. The note?
How's this? I've been a burden on my wife long enough. Forgive me. Roger Brookhurst, M.D.
Good. Charles, perhaps you'd better keep away until after the funeral and the inquest.
Yes, of course. I'll miss you, darling.
I miss you too, Charles.
I hate to bring this up at a time like this, but we must be practical.
Yes?
Perhaps I ought to sell the book for you immediately. You'll need ready cash for the funeral expenses.
Oh, no, Charles. They might ask about it at the inquest. Give me a week.
Certainly, darling. Shall we arrange for a place to meet?
What about our pub off Piccadilly Circus?
Just the place. A week from today. 4 o'clock be all right?
Yes.
Anything else?
No. I only hope I can stand the ordeal.
When it gets bad, think of us in America, married, happy, together.
I will. And now, upstairs. Do you suppose he's...
Yes. We'd better have a look.
The days that follow seem endless, don't they, Charles? You scan every edition of the newspapers, but all you find is short paragraphs in the back pages stating the simple facts of Roger's death. You fight to keep from phoning Yvonne, and the week finally passes. You find yourself at last in the pub off Piccadilly Circus with a 4 o'clock appointment with her. You wait for her nervously, and suddenly she's there, sitting down beside you in a black gown.
Charles, I don't dare stay very long, but it is good to see you.
Yes. Everything go all right, Yvonne?
Yes.
Nothing suspicious at the inquest?
Nothing.
Yes. Good. Did you bring the book?
No.
Well, why didn't you? I got a sharp cablegram from my client, and I'll need his bonus to book passage for the both of us.
Well, I couldn't help it. There were a million details. Tomorrow, Charles, I promise.
Well, I'll meet you in the morning.
Better make it afternoon.
Why?
Because, silly, the book is in the Bank of London, and I have to get all sorts of papers signed and sealed proving I'm me and that Roger was my husband and that I have a right to his bank vault.
All right.
At 3, the Bank of London.
I'm sorry. I'll see you tomorrow.
You're not cross with me?
No.
You still love me?
Oh, you know I do. 3, Bank of London.
You feel much better, don't you, Charles? You're certain that tomorrow afternoon you'll have your hands on the only other original printing of Bonelli's Fable. You feel a little sad about poor Yvonne, but you don't let it bother you too much. You leave the pub and walk to the World Airlines office.
Can I be of service, sir?
I wish to book passage back to America. Boston.
Oh, yes, sir. We have a flight leaving tomorrow night at 9.
I'll take it.
How many in your party?
1.
As you're about to get your ticket, you suddenly hear a familiar voice from another ticket window close by.
2 for Paris. Yes, they'll do. I'm in a hurry. Here.
You can only catch a glimpse of her back, but you're sure it's Yvonne.
Your ticket, sir?
Hold it for me.
But, sir...
I'll be back.
You rush out after her, but she disappears into a waiting car and drives off. Desperately, you look up and down the street.
Cabby! Cabby!
Hop in, Yank.
Lonely suburb. And step on it.
Number and street, if you don't mind.
I'll show you. Get going.
You have the driver let you off a block before Yvonne's house and walk the rest of the way. As you approach, you see Gerald Kimberly, the late Dr. Brookhurst's secretary, drive off in a roadster loaded with suitcases. You're afraid you're too late, aren't you, Charles? As you rush inside the Brookhurst residence.
Gerald, darling, is that you? I'm in here. The rest of the bags are packed. I'm getting the book out of the safe.
Hello, Yvonne.
Charles.
Surprised?
Yes.
I didn't think you could do a thing like this after all we went through.
Didn't you know?
I thought the lady loved me.
No crocodile tears, Charles. I was on to your game from the first.
What do you mean, game?
Oh, come off it, Charles. Imagine trying to tell me the book was worth $10,000 when poor Roger was giving it away at $50,000.
You knew. All the time, you knew.
What did you take me for anyway, an innocent little fool? Well, now you know much better.
I'll take that book.
Oh, no, you won't. You'll get out of here. Gerald and I are going away together. And if I have any more difficulties from you, I shall call the police.
You wouldn't dare.
Why not? As I remember it, you forged a suicide note.
Listen, Yvonne. This is wrong. I love you, Yvonne.
Don't lie. Besides, if it were true, it would do you little good. Gerald and I have been in love for years, but he couldn't bring himself to do away with Roger.
So that's why you let me. You used me.
That's right.
I'll take that book, Yvonne.
No, you won't. Let go of me.
Too bad, Yvonne. You could at least have had your life. And Gerald.
Cats, which are said to have 9 lives, were once used as a basis of comparison for things which are supposed to last a long while. But today, Pussy is a piker compared with the new Lee Super Deluxe tires. Here's what I mean. For extra long mileage, Lee toughens long-wearing cold rubber still further with patented high-abrasive Fill Black O. And for extra safety, extra protection against blowouts or road hazards, Lee reinforces the carcass with double-life rayon cord. No wonder Lee of Conshohocken, for half a century maker of first-line tires, dares to back these famous nationally advertised new Lees with a double guarantee. Guaranteed for life against defective workmanship and materials. Guaranteed 15 months against all road hazards. When you consider that Lee charges nothing extra for all this extra quality, and dealers are now giving generous trade-in allowances on old tires, you can see why more and more drivers who want to be prepared for what's ahead are going to signal stations and Lee tire dealers for the tire with 9 lives. Lee tires.
It was over quickly, wasn't it, Charles? With Yvonne dead, you were able to take the book, dispose of your gun, and leave the house without being seen. Then you hurry to the transatlantic telephone, talk to your partner in Boston, give him some hurried instructions. You're certain you can expect a visit from the police, probably soon. And after talking with your partner, you're sure you're prepared for them, aren't you? Yes. You own an identical copy of the book. It's a matter of public record in book catalogs throughout the world. You're sure all you have to do is say that this is your copy of Benelli's Fables. Both volumes are identical, aren't they? Even the printing errors, the flaws in the lithography. And no one can know that your copy of Benelli's Fables is locked in the safe of your office in America. It's a risk, but only a slight one which you will have to take. You jump at the sound of a knock on the door. You wonder if it can be the police so soon. Quickly, you slip the stolen book from your briefcase and put it in a desk drawer and lock it.
Coming. Yes? Who are you?
I'm Inspector Kramer of Scotland Yard. May we come in?
Oh, please do. Sorry for the delay.
It's quite all right. And, sir, I am here about a murder.
Murder?
Yvonne Brookhurst was found shot to death 2 hours ago.
This is a shock.
Rare volume was stolen by the murderer.
Bonelli's Fables?
Yes. We understand from Mr. Gerald Kimberly that you were most anxious to get the book.
I certainly was. It's an original edition. I have the only other copy. I have it with me, as a matter of fact. Our ownership is a matter of official record, if you care to investigate.
How do you happen to bring your copy with you, as valuable as it is?
Well, with both copies in my possession, I could ask and get any price for either. Or both. I'd hoped to sell them, either here or at home.
Yes, and it still seems strange.
You're more than welcome to communicate with my partner in the States, Inspector. He'll verify everything I've told you. The fact that this is our copy, the reasons why I brought it with me.
Yes, we may get around to that. Meantime, may I see your copy?
Yes, of course. Here you are, Inspector.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's interesting. Tell me, are you familiar with the book at all?
Oh, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
I read it twice a year. It gives me a chance to brush up on my Italian.
Good. Are there any identifying marks in the book?
Let's see. Yes, it turned to page 32, last line.
Mm-hmm.
Capital letter is missing on the first word.
Any others?
Mm-hmm. The donkey, beautiful woodcut on the margin of page 50.
Yes?
The donkey's eye is missing.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Beneke, I shall have to arrest you for the murder of Yvonne Brookhurst. This is not your copy of the book. It's the Brookhurst copy.
What do you mean, Inspector?
What I said. You've never read this book, nor has anyone else. The 2 pages you mentioned are still uncut.
Let that whistle be your signal for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler, each Sunday night at the same time. Meantime, Signal Oil Company and the friendly independent dealers who help you go farther with Signal gasoline hope you'll remember. Regardless of what gasoline you use, you'll enjoy more miles of happy driving if you drive at sensible speeds, obey traffic regulations, and avoid taking chances. You may even save a life, possibly your own. Featured in tonight's story were Bill Foreman as the Whistler, Les Tremaine, Alice Reinhardt, John Daner, Herb Rawlinson, and Donald Morrison. The Whistler was produced and directed by George W. Allen with story by Meyer Dolinsky, music by Wilbur Hatch, and was transmitted overseas by the Armed Forces Radio Service. The Whistler was entirely fictional, and all characters portrayed on The Whistler are also fictional. Any similarity of names or resemblance to persons living or dead is purely coincidental. Remember to tune in at the same time next Sunday when the Signal Oil Company will bring you another strange story by the Whistler entitled Man on the Run, in which a killer takes dangerous and breathtaking chances in an attempt to elude pursuit. Marvin Miller speaking for the Signal Oil Company. This is the CBS Radio Network.
Bummers in the Little Theater of the Air.
Ghost stories, weird stories, and murders too. The hermit knows of them all. Turn out your lights. Turn them out. You heard the story, The House with a Past, eh? Then listen while the hermit tells you the story.
It's 8 o'clock, Paul. You'll have to hurry if you're going to get to the store on time this morning.
I'm hurrying.
Oh, you know, Paul, I think I'm going to like this little town. No, I couldn't bear the thought of moving here when you first told me you had bought out the drugstore in a little jerkwater town.
I think we'll be happy here, honey.
Oh, imagine finding a dear little house like this, all furnished. Why, it's nicer than anything we could get in the city. And the rent so reasonable. How did you ever happen to locate it, Paul?
Well, Mr. Rogers, a banker here in town, owns it. Belonged to some member of his family. They've gone away or something, so he rented it to me. Now, I've got to go, honey.
All right. Will you be home for lunch?
I'll call you on the phone if I can get away.
Okay. Oh, listen, dear. You must be careful about leaving lights on in the house all night. When you came to our room after listening to the radio last night, you left 3 lights on in the living room.
What? No, I didn't.
Oh, yes, you did.
Oh, but I tell you, I didn't, Margaret.
Our neighbors in small towns might think it very strange if they saw lights burning at all hours of night. Besides, we can't burn up money right now, Paul. Just getting started in this new business and all.
I don't know what you're talking about. I know I turned off the lights before I came to bed last night.
I'm afraid you're getting absent-minded, honey, because 3 lamps were burning when I got up this morning.
No, I won't argue with you. I gotta go now.
All right. Don't get too absent-minded, dear. You might mix the wrong prescriptions for people. What? Well, look. Well, there goes the milkman right past the house. I told him to leave milk and cream every morning. Must have forgotten. Call him in, Paul.
All right, I will.
Now, let me see. What should I do first this morning? Oh, I love this little house. It's going to be grand living here. Oh, that must be the milkman. Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Won't you come in?
Thank you, ma'am.
I guess you forgot about me this morning. I want milk and cream every day.
Yes, ma'am. I didn't forget about you exactly. I thought maybe you would be moving out already, so I didn't stop.
Moving out? Why, we just moved in day before yesterday.
Yes, ma'am, I know. But that's about as long as anybody stays in this house.
I don't see what you mean.
I just figured I wouldn't leave any milk for you because you might move away in a hurry and I might not get any pay.
Oh, we aren't in the habit of moving out of places in the nighttime. I still don't see what you mean.
The last folks that moved in here about 4 months ago, they got out in the night and in a hurry, too.
How strange. What for?
Well, if you haven't found out yet, you soon will.
Found out what?
This house. There's something in it. Queer things go on here. Things that frighten folks half out of their wits.
Yes? Well, what is it? What is it that's strange?
No one knows, ma'am. But they say the house is haunted.
Is it one of the superstitions of this little town?
I don't know, ma'am. But most folks here in town know it's true. Should I leave a quart of milk, ma'am?
Yes, and a pint of cream every morning, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Here, I'll pay you for the week. Then you won't be afraid that I'll run off and you won't get your money. Here you are. Is this the right amount?
That's right, ma'am.
Oh, someone at the door. Pardon me.
It's your next-door neighbor, ma'am. I seen her coming across the backyard.
Oh, thank you. None of my neighbors have called as yet. Good morning.
Good morning. You're Mrs. Liveston, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Won't you come in?
Yes, although I can't stay long.
I'll be going, ma'am.
Oh, yes, and don't forget to stop every morning.
No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, I will.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, ma'am.
Well, so you've moved in here to stay, have you? And your husband bought out the drugstore. Oh, it's too bad old Mr. Green had to die. He was such a good druggist, and I depended on him so. He fixed up the most marvelous remedy for my rheumatism. And I always say these new doctors mean well, but they don't know the old-fashioned remedies the old men did. Oh, no, sir.
Won't you come in the living room and sit down?
No, if you don't mind, I'll stay right here in the kitchen. Not that I'm afraid in this house in the daytime, mind you, but... Well, I like to be right near a door where I can get out in a hurry.
Mrs. Dutton, will you please tell me what this mystery is all about? The milkman was trying to tell me something about him, but...
Now, that's just what I thought. I said to my man last night, I said, like as not, Seth Rogers. He's the banker who owns this house.
Oh, yeah.
I said, I'll bet you dollars to donuts he didn't tell you folks a thing about it. Now, isn't that the limit?
Oh, what is it? Tell me all about it.
Well, there are no two ways about it. This house is haunted.
Huh? Oh, you don't mean to tell me that a lovely new house like this is branded with any old-fashioned belief like that?
Enough, all right. Sometimes I actually get so frightened right next door to it that I threatened to move out of the neighborhood. I said only last week that if I heard any more stories about it, I'd have to get out.
Oh, for goodness sake, tell me what it is. I don't want to live in ignorance of what's wrong with my own house.
It is. That's what it is. Oh, it's a tragic story. A very tragic story.
Yeah? Well, tell me.
Well, this house was built for Mr. Rogers' daughter. He gave it to her for a wedding present. Oh, I remember as well as if it were yesterday. She was such a beautiful girl. And her husband, my, but he was handsome.
They live here in this house?
Yes, but only for 4 weeks, mind you. Just 4 weeks in this lovely little house.
How long ago was it?
Just 3 years ago last October. My, it was a terrible thing.
Oh, what happened to them?
Well, as I say, they'd only been married 4 weeks when one day he went out hunting. How well I remember that day. I was the first one over here when I heard about the accident.
To him, you mean?
Yes. Oh, my. To think that a couple so much in love should come to such a tragic end. Well, as I say, I was the first one over here. I even got here before Mr. Rogers came to tell his daughter about it. I had to break the news to her.
Something had happened to her husband, you mean?
Some other hunter shot him accidentally. Killed him outright.
Oh. Oh, how terrible.
Terrible is no word for it. And wait, you haven't heard the worst part of the story. 2 weeks afterwards, that poor girl, that lovely bride, who was a bride no more, killed herself.
Oh, no.
Yes, she did. Threw herself in the river. Drowned.
Oh, what a tragic thing.
Oh, her poor little body. They never recovered it, though they dragged the river for days and days.
Well, it's a terrible thing, Mrs. Dutton, but I don't see what it has to do with this house being haunted.
Oh, wait, I'm coming to that. You see, for 6 months after they died, it was closed up tight. Mr. Rogers never came near it. I came over and sorted out her clothes and personal things for him. He wouldn't step inside. Then I guess he decided to rent it. It was all furnished and everything.
Oh, it's so nice even now.
4 different families have tried to live in it since then. But they all moved away in a hurry. They claimed they heard things walking at night.
In this house?
Yes, walking all over it. Ah, tragedy struck it too soon. And the ghosts of those young people come back to walk on the earth they were forced to leave.
Have you ever heard them walking?
No, and I don't want to.
Oh, I heard nothing last night.
But you will. You mark my words. Oh, great heavens. What was that?
Sounded like something in the living room. I'll go see.
Something certainly did fall.
What? Why, look. There's this beautiful vase that's set on the mantel. Oh, what a shame. It's broken in 1,000 pieces.
Not a car going by on the street to jar it up. Not a thing. Oh, I tell you, they're beginning to walk in the daytime. Let me out of here. Let me out of here. They haunt the house in the daytime now. Oh, let me out of here.
Paul, wake up. Turn on the lights.
What is it? What do you say?
Wake up. Turn on the light. Right there beside you.
What's the matter?
Listen. There's someone walking up in the attic.
I don't hear anything.
Wake up and listen, you will. You hear it?
I hear a noise.
Someone walking, I tell you. I can hear it plain as day. Oh, turn on the light.
Yeah. Now do you feel better when you can see?
I don't think I hear it now.
I suppose whatever it was knew we turned on the lights and scampered away. Honey, I'm ashamed of you. You let that neighbor of yours get you all upset.
Oh, no, I haven't. I'm certain I heard someone walking upstairs.
Well, it's stopped now. What do you say we go back to sleep?
Well, let's sleep with the light on.
Nonsense. Go on back to sleep and forget it.
All right. I'll try.
May I turn off the light then?
Yes, go ahead.
There. Now you calm your fears. Go back to sleep.
Oh, I know you think it sounded silly.
Of course I do. You can't scare me.
There are such things as ghosts, you know.
Where? In books?
In life.
Ah, you're silly.
Paul. Listen, Paul. There it is again. Don't you hear it?
I do hear a noise.
It's someone walking right up over our heads. Paul, you've got to go up in the attic and see what it is.
All right, I will. Just to satisfy you. But I know it isn't anything. Just the wind rattling something up there.
Wind doesn't make the sound of footsteps. Oh, hurry, Paul.
You wanted to get me?
I want you to find out what it is.
Well, where's my robe?
I'm beginning to see why people moved out of this house. How could they stay here with this strange walking over them?
You want to come with me?
No, I'll stay here. What's that? Oh, it's Paul walking up the attic stairs. Oh, I've got myself in a nice state of nerves. Now, if that's Paul, it sounds exactly like the walking before he went up there. What was that? Paul! Paul, come here! Paul, come here, quick! What happened?
Margaret, that was down in the kitchen.
I'm coming. What is it?
Look what's happened here.
My heavens. Oh, what in the world?
Every dish in the cupboard is smashed on the floor.
Oh, of all things. All these lovely dishes broken. What could cause it?
By golly, if this isn't the limit.
What could cause it, Paul? Was there someone up in the attic?
No, there wasn't. But, Margaret.
Yes?
I don't want to get you frightened.
No,
now.
tell me, what did you see?
Well, it wasn't exactly what I saw. Well, in a way it was, too.
There was something, wasn't there?
As I was climbing the stairs to the attic, I don't know what it was, but I had the queerest sensation, as if something brushed my shoulder. I could feel it, almost see it. It was as if I were blind and yet could sense someone or something trying to move stealthily past me.
Oh, Paul. Oh, dear, the house is haunted there.
I don't know. But if it is, and something did pass me on the stairs, it came down here in the kitchen and threw all these dishes on the floor.
Let's get out.
I'm going to talk to Mr. Rogers in the morning. I can't believe it yet, but there certainly is something going on here.
I know it. I heard them walking long before you did. And the vase on the mantel this morning, it broke too.
Oh, keep calm, honey. We'll find out what it is. Right now, if you can find a cup that isn't broken, I'll have a gallon of black coffee.
What can the trouble in the house Paul and Margaret have rented be, Who is moving about in their house in the dark of night? The hermit will tell you before the night is done.
And now, the hermit again.
It is the next morning, and we find Paul in the office of Mr. Rogers. Listen.
It's all right, Mr. Liveston. You're welcome to move out. I'll refund your month's rent.
I don't want to do that, Mr. Rogers.
You've stayed a night longer than anyone else who's rented the house. I don't blame you for going.
You haven't ever stayed there, have you?
No. I presume you know the story of my daughter and my son-in-law.
Yes, I do. I don't want to bring it all up for you again.
It's all right. It's with me all the time. What I started to say was, I can't bring myself to go in the house. I built it for my little girl. I couldn't go into it. Ever.
What I'd like to ask you is, do you take any stock in the story about the house being haunted?
I don't know. All I've heard is from the people who've rented it. They say so.
But you don't believe it, do you?
I don't know. There might be some truth in it.
Yet you've never investigated.
Oh, I think you understand. I can't visit that house.
But maybe if you came and stayed in it, we could clear the matter up. Won't you come over to the house and stay with my wife and me tonight?
Well,
Please. We'll feel a lot better. We want to live in the house if possible.
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll try and forget my sorrow. I'll go there to the house tonight and stay with you.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
If there is anything, we'll find it. But I don't want the house all torn to pieces.
Oh, no, sir. We won't do that.
I hate to lose the property. But if it's true that there is something wrong, I may have to burn the house down.
That would be a shame. My wife likes the house. We'd like to stay there.
Well, I'll be over tonight. Maybe we can straighten it out forever.
Good evening. Oh, Mrs. Dutton. Come right in.
Suppose you're surprised to see me. I didn't think myself that I'd ever come into this house at night.
Well, now you're here, won't you take off your things and sit down?
I just brought this shawl. I'll keep it over my shoulders. Isn't that Mr. Rogers' car out in front?
Yes, it is.
Well, think of that. I never expected he'd come to this house. Never. Is there something wrong? Something more than usual, I mean?
Well, not exactly.
It must be something very strange that would bring him to this house. He never set foot inside it since the death of his daughter, you know.
So I understand. But he very kindly consented to do so after my husband went and talked to him.
What about?
Well, we like the house very well, and we'd like to stay here if we can.
Has anything else happened since the day I was over?
We did hear some strange sounds.
I knew it. And you've gone right on living here. How can you do it? Why, I'm sure Where's Mr. Rogers gone?
Oh, he and Paul are looking through the house. They've gone down the basement now, I think.
Searching? What for?
Well, nothing definite.
What could they find? Things that haunt houses couldn't be seen.
Well, you know how much better anyone feels after they've searched all through a house which frightens them.
Oh, my heavens. Look.
Where? What do you mean?
Can't you see? Look at that chair.
What?
Look at it.
Why, it's rocking.
Oh, of course it's rocking. All by itself.
Oh, they must have jarred it while they were down in the basement.
Oh, no. It's spirits rocking that chair. I know it. Whatever is in this house that haunts this place, it's after someone, or it wants something. I know it. Oh, it's rocking again. All by itself. Oh, help! Help!
What is it? Yes, what's happened?
Oh, Mr. Rogers, it's you. Oh, I'm glad you've come. But now you may stop whatever it is in this house.
What is it, Mrs. Dutton?
See that chair there? It started to rock all by itself.
Did it, Margaret?
Well, yes, it did. I thought perhaps it was because you jarred the floor while you were down in the basement.
Oh, it was spirits. I know it. Oh, my nerves. My nerves are all unstrung. I've got to go home. Right now. Right now.
Well,
she really was frightened, wasn't she?
Of course, if it did really move of its own accord, it would frighten anyone. I can't make it out. We haven't seen a thing.
Oh, it isn't that there's anything in the house that hurt you, Mr. Rogers. It's only this constant moving of things in the house. And in the nighttime, someone or something moving in the attic. We haven't seen anything either.
I don't think we shall. I shall have to admit I'm still at a loss to account for it, though. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'll retire to my room for the night. But I promise you I shall stay awake. And if there is anything, we'll find it.
Well, I can hear it tonight, all right, Margaret. Was it the sound you heard?
Yes, that's it. Should we call Mr. Rogers?
No, let him hear it for himself. Then we'll be certain it isn't a product of our own minds.
How could it be a product of our own minds? There's certainly something moving about in the attic.
Someone, something walking. You're right, it is.
Yes?
Mr. Rogers.
Just a minute.
I think I heard what you've been referring to. The sound of something moving in the attic.
Yes, Mr. Rogers, we just heard it, too.
Shall we go up there?
Yes, I guess we better. I can't make it out.
I'm going to.
All right. Will your robe be warm enough?
Yes, I'm all right.
Then let's go right away.
Oh, wait. There aren't any lights in the attic. I'll take a flashlight.
Why, the attic was wired for electricity.
I guess the bulbs have been taken out then. Because I couldn't get any light the other night when I went up there.
Listen. I hear it again. Do you? It sounds as if whatever it is was moving faster, walking more rapidly.
Are we all ready now?
Yes, I am.
Of course, we won't see a thing. All these weird things happen and we never see a thing.
Here are the stairs. Watch out now. Don't fall on anyone.
Oh, I hate to admit it. I'm so scared my heart is pounding like a trip hammer.
I know. I went cold all over when I heard the sound of walking while I was in my room. The light should turn on right here.
Guess they don't work. We can see pretty well with this flashlight. Yeah, you see? Not a thing. Totally deserted.
We can't peer into the corners very well.
Wait, I'll stand up in this chair. Maybe the light bulb has come loose. Maybe I can fix it. I can almost reach it.
Here, I'll give you a boost.
Now I've got it. Yes, it is loose. There. Now turn on the switch.
Yes.
Oh, there. That's fine. Now we can see better.
But there isn't anything to see. Isn't it the queerest thing?
Did you feel anything pass you on the stairs this time, Paul?
No.
Did you, Mr. Rogers?
Pass me on the stairs? No.
Well, neither did I. And if there is anything in this house, it should still be right here in this attic.
Do you mind if we tear things to pieces up here and search thoroughly, Mr. Rogers?
I don't know what there is to search for, but go right ahead. I hate to disturb my girl's things that were left here in the attic. But we might as well, I guess.
I just thought it might be an animal or a bat or something living up here. We may find it.
Well, that wouldn't account for the dishes breaking, Paul, or the chair rocking.
This is just a pile of bedding, isn't it?
Yes, I guess so.
Oh, look. Look at this big trunk. What's in it, Mr. Rogers?
Oh, that trunk, why, it was one my wife and I first took to Europe with us. My little girl used it for her trousseau, I guess.
Oh, I think it's locked. But maybe I can open it. Stuck, I guess. Rusty. Oh, there. It's opening. Paul. Paul. Come here. Paul. Oh, Paul.
Margaret, what is it?
Don't look. It's a body.
What? Great heavens. What is it? It's a body, Mr. Rogers. A woman's body.
What? Let me look at it. Great heavens. It's the body of my daughter. The body of my daughter.
Margaret is much better, Mr. Rogers.
I'm glad to hear she's getting along all right. It was a terrible shock for her.
And for you, Mr. Rogers.
Yes, it was. So much I can't even think or reason it out.
You know how it happened?
Yes, we found a bottle of poison in the bottom of the trunk. She crawled away in there and died.
Believe me, my heart aches for you.
But at least now I can give my little girl a decent burial. Mr. Liveston, I'm convinced there was something that moved about in the house. Aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Either the spirit of my daughter walked in that house, or that of her husband trying to tell us that the body of my little girl was there.
We haven't heard or seen anything strange for the last 3 nights.
No, and you won't. The spirits will rest easy now. They'll rest easy.
The wandering spirit was set free. It will walk no more. Turn on your lights. Turn them on. I'll be back. Pleasant dreams.
All characters, places, and occurrences mentioned in the Hermits Cave are fictitious, and similarity to persons, places, or occurrences is purely accidental.
The Mutual Broadcasting System presents The Mysterious Traveler, produced and directed by Robert A. Arthur and David Coulton, and starring Lawson Zerbe in The Most Famous Man in the World. This is The Mysterious Traveler, inviting you to join me on another journey to the realm of the strange and the terrifying. I hope you'll enjoy the trip. So sit back, get a good grip on your nerves, and be comfortable, if you can, as we meet 2 people who haven't even been born yet. It's a story I call The Most Famous Man in the World. Who is the most famous man in the world? You don't know him yet, but you will, if things happen as predicted. His name is Frank Richards, and he has a very odd story. You may find it a little hard to believe at first, but so many things are hard to believe these days, aren't they? So please, keep an open mind. Frank gives you all facts. And here he is. I wouldn't be telling you this if Mabel hadn't asked me to. Just before she went to the hospital, she said, Frank, you tell people exactly what's happened. Even if they don't believe you, you'll have done your duty. And I said, all right, I would. So I'm going to tell you about the team. They rented our front room, Don and Susie. They spell their names funny. J-O-N and Susie, S-U-S-I. You see, we had an extra room in our apartment, and when there was going to be an addition to the family, we decided we needed some extra money. So I went down to the paper and put an advertisement offering our front room for rent. I went to work. I got home about 6, and I'd hardly settled down with my paper when the...
Frank, see who that is, will you, dear? I'm busy with supper.
All right, sweetheart. Yes? Mr. Frank Richards? Yes, that's my name. I'm John Bean, and this is my wife, Susie. Oh, pleased to meet you.
How do you do, Mr. Richards?
We have come desirous of renting the room which you posted in today's newspaper. You mean the room I advertised in the paper? Of course, the room you advertised in the paper.
It has not been allotted yet, has it?
What do you mean, rented?
Yes.
Well, as a matter of fact, the paper the ad is in isn't out yet. You mean not printed? That's right. It's the morning paper. Doesn't come out until about 9 p.m. And it's only 6:15 now.
Oh, but you are wrong. It is out. We have a copy of it.
Dear Mr. Richard, you see, the city Gazette, Thursday, June 6th, 1951, old style. I mean, Arnold Dominic. And here is your postage. I mean your advertisement. Charming front room for rent. Newly furnished, kitchen privilege. Now look at that paper. Of course. It's my ad, that's right. But this is the final edition of the paper. It shouldn't be out now. It's not supposed to be printed until about 4 o'clock tomorrow morning.
John, we have made a mistake. What is it?
Someone come to see our front room, sweetheart. Mr. and Mrs. Dean, my wife.
How do you do? Oh, Frank, you've been standing in a dark hallway. Won't you come in and see the room? Thank you. I will.
It is very kind of you.
Room is this way. Oh, nothing. If you'll come this way. Come on, John, dear.
Well, I knew what it was that had startled Mabel. The way Deans were dressed. I hadn't been able to see clearly in the dark hall, but once we were inside, I saw that Mrs. Dean was wearing a tight little hat and a fur neck piece and a short skirted dress, vintage of 1929, while Miss had on an old-fashioned frock coat, a boiled shirt, and a stand-up collar, high-button shoes, striped formal trousers, and was carrying a silk top hat. A minute later, May came out, leading them to look the front room over, and joining me, looking puzzled.
You see how they're dressed? They might have gotten those clothes out of a museum.
Or maybe they're going to Masquerade Ball, but that's not the funniest thing about them.
Oh?
Maybe that newspaper they have just can't be printed. It's 10 hours ahead of time. I could... Come. My wife and I have been talking about the room.
We want to take it.
Why, that's fine.
It is a lovely room. Has such a nice, clear view of the street. And we would like to stay here because we've read so much about you both. We see if we know you.
Read so much about us?
Why, yes, you are famous. Goodness, I cannot imagine how many words... Yes. My goodness. I mean, we have heard so much about you from people who know you. Well, anyway, we do like the room and want to rent it.
Oh, I don't know. We were thinking of just one person. We will not be any trouble at all. Your posting, I mean your advertisement, you meant $10 a week. We will pay $12 and advance. Here you are. 1 month's rent and advance. Well, I still think...
Oh, I'm sure Dean's are perfectly all right, Frank. Go ahead, take the money.
Well, if wife is okay, Mr. Dean. Then, you are. Say, something... You're looking at it... Well, no, I guess it's good, all right. It's just that these are the old-style bills. The big kind haven't been in use for 20 years or more.
That Victor at the museum.
Are they good? Nothing. I can explain the bills. You see, my wife and I have been living abroad. Recently received a legacy from a distant relative. She was eccentric. Left us chunks of old clothes. I've noticed you staring at our clothes. And old money, too.
Oh, well, that explains it.
Well, not this, folks. Just make yourselves at home. If you've got any luggage, why...
We are having a couple of bags sent on later. But for now, we are going to buy all new things. And about how long do you think you'll be staying, Mrs. Dean? We can tell you exactly, Mrs. Richards. Until 5 minutes past 3 in the afternoon, October 30th.
You see what I mean about the Deans being odd? Well, I've explained to you all the details so you'll know just how the whole thing started. Well, the next day, the Deans went shopping and came back with a brand new up-to-date wardrobe. A couple of days later, 2 small trunks of some funny new plastic arrived, but I saw them open the trunk. They read a lot, mostly newspapers and history books, and stayed in the room a good deal. But they were awfully nice people. I can get. Well, we took playing bridge evenings and talking.
Well, that's rubber. Do you want to play any more, Susie? No, thanks, Mabel. Let us just sit and listen to the radio. And talk. It is so nice to be able to talk without worrying about a monitor listening.
A monitor? Susie means a spy. You see, abroad, well, you have to watch everything you say these days.
Oh, that must be terrible. It is terrible. That is why it is so nice to talk and not worry about saying the wrong things.
But surely in your own home you can talk. No monitors can overhear you then.
Oh, but they can. There is two-way television in every home. They can see you and hear you. Everything you say and everything you do.
Why, that's awful. But where is this? I haven't heard of any place where such a thing has been developed. You two talk just like you'd stepped out of one of these imaginative books about the future.
What? What did you say?
I said you talk like a couple of people out of a book about the future. Yes, Frank. I suppose we do.
But, Mom.
We might as well let Frank and Mabel in on a little secret, darling. Just about to guess it anyway. You see, folks, we are from the future.
Oh, what? We come from the future, Mabel. I was born in the year 2205. John was born in 2190.
Oh, no. Wait a minute. Oh, that's a gag. You're kidding. No, you are kidding, aren't you? You know we are not kidding. Back home now, the year is 2228. So there you have it. Two people in the year 2228 have rented our front room. People who wouldn't even be born for over 200 years. Two people from the future. Well, Frank, Mabel, I see you are convinced now. Oh, yes, I guess we are. It's the only answer that explains it. Especially that newspaper you had when you first came here, 10 hours ahead of time.
It came from the files of the Historical Museum, Frank.
So did our clothes and our money. We tried to get the right clothes and money for this year, but we did not have much data to go on. Our researchers were a few years out of date.
You see, we do not know too much about the everyday details of the past back in 2220.
But goodness, I should think you could find out every detail about it from your library. Just the old books and newspapers.
Unfortunately, we don't have many old books and newspapers. Why the devil not?
For one thing, war.
The war? Oh, you need not look scared. It will not happen in your lifetime. Not the one I am speaking about. But when it does come, well, there will not be many books or newspapers left. That sounds as if there won't be many people left either.
Now we must not talk about the war. In fact, it may never happen if we are successful.
If you're successful? Oh, look, you've told us this much. Now I think you've got to tell us a little more. How did you get here from 2228? We came through a time gap, a distortion in the time field. I cannot explain it. It was developed at the Science Institute, and except for a few trial trips, we are the first people ever to use it. All right, well, that brings up my other question. Why? Why did you come, and especially here? Why were you so anxious to rent our front room that you showed up even before my advertisement was printed?
Frank, we are photographers, and we have come here into the past to make a newsreel of a political parade.
Parade?
Yes, it will take place on October 30th. It will be in honor of a candidate for the Senate, a certain Farrington Farnsworth.
Farnsworth? Oh, yes, we've heard some of the speeches on the radio, Frank.
Oh, sure, I remember. He's a real red-hot down with everybody but us kind of politician. In 1964, he was elected president. I mean, he will be elected president.
Him? President? Yes, Frank. And in 1972, this country became will become a dictatorship. Goodness, it is hard to remember the difference between past and future when you are traveling in time.
A dictatorship? This country? Oh, you're joking.
No. We are very much in earnest, Mabel. Barrington Farnsworth will become our first dictator. His son will become Barrington Farnsworth II, dictator of the Western Hemisphere. At this moment, back in 2228, Barrington Farnsworth VIII is dictator of the world. I guess we sat most of that night talking, and what John and Susie told us kind of made our hair stand on end. About the dictatorship of America and the wars that followed, ending up with a big slam-bang all-out war of 2012, with only 400 million people left alive. And how the dictatorship spread over the world, so that by 2228, the world was ruled by a small group living in luxury. Distant descendants of dictator Farnsworth the First. Well, there was more. I guess that's enough to give you the idea. The God's future, not the way John and Susie Dean told it to us. It made me and Mabel mighty glad we were alive now and not then. So John explained they had come back to the past to get a special newsreel of Dictator Farnsworth in his first big public play. Now, that's all they would say, so we let it go at that. We didn't tell anybody about them. Who would have believed us? But now that we knew the truth, we weren't puzzled by John and Susie anymore. Well, the weeks went by, and they saw as much of life today as they could. Went to ball games, the theater, all the different restaurants, and had a wonderful time. Sometimes they just sat home with us and we listened to the radio.
Oh, this is so much fun. So much fun. I wish it would not have to be.
Yes, we stayed about as long as we can. Tomorrow is big parade, you know.
Oh, yes, the parade for Barrington Farnsworth.
We will do our job, and then we'll go back into our time.
And we'll just go on to the old routine, I suppose, as if we'd seen it.
Well, not exactly the old routine, Frank.
No, life would be considerably different for you in the days to come, Frank. You and Mabel.
You said something like that the very first day you were here. You said you'd read a lot about it. But where?
In the newspapers, Mabel. While John and I were studying up on this time period.
In the newspapers? Me and Mabel? To put it bluntly, old man, you are both going to be famous.
Oh, you're joking. Why should we be famous?
You don't mean the book I'm writing to make a little extra money so that when the baby... No, not your book. So it will be published.
Well, at least that's nice to know.
Well, go on, John. Tell us some more about what lies ahead of us. Look, I need to make some more money. You can give me a tip on the stock market. After all, you did read the newspapers. Back in the future, you said you read all the newspapers for 100 years.
So you must know where the stocks are going up, down.
Well, yes, we do. But we cannot tell you. Really, we cannot. And besides, you will not need any such information.
No, because you are going to be famous, both of you. For a little while, Frank is going to be the most famous man in the world.
It is true, Frank. Really, it is.
I do wish you wouldn't be so mysterious. Can't you give us even a little hint as to why he'll be famous?
I could give you half a dozen reasons, but I'll not. But when it happens, and you remember that we predicted it, then you will know that all this really took place. Even though later it will seem just like a strange dream. I suppose we'll just have to wait and see, huh? I am afraid so, Frank. Now I think we should all go to bed. Tomorrow is going to be a big day for all of us. we all went to bed. Mabel and I tried to figure out what John and Susie meant. How could two average people like us become friends? Didn't matter. So we finally decided they were just kidding us and went to sleep. Well, the next day, we didn't get to talk much. John and Susie were busy. Before the parade came past, they got a funny-looking camera out of their suitcases and started setting it up in the room out on Main Street. But when they finished, we could hear the band playing in the distance as the parade in honor of Farrington Farnsworth came down our street. Well, here he comes, Susie. Your great, many times great-grandfather will be coming past any...
Yes, I know. I suppose I will be the first person to see his great-grandfather times removed.
No?
I am a little... What will happen?
I do not know. But we will have to be prepared.
I am prepared.
Hey, what are you two talking about? The parade inside? It is just down the street. Where is Mabel? She's lying down. Doesn't like watching. I'll turn on the radio. We'll get a commentary from the car right behind Farnsworth. I think I can see his car now. Yes, I'm sure of it. Well, folks, here we are, halfway to the auditorium. And so far, at least a half-million people greeted Mr. Farrington Farnsworth from the crowded sidewalk. It's really a triumphal day for him. All public predict he swept into the center by a landslide. And he was, too. Went on to become dictator. Now his descendants keep the world in slavery. As far ahead as the eye can see, dense marks line the street. Victory is in the air. Victory for Farnsworth and his foreign body. Now we're going to let you listen to the band for a moment.
There he is, John. Waving to the crowd.
I see him. I have camera focus. Yes. Turn it on.
Yes, John. Yes.
Hey. What camera is that? Blue light down on Farrington Farnsworth. Please, Frank. Power to the...
Yes, John.
Now the blue light is on. What are you two up to? You didn't take any picture of that. Hey, something's happening down there. Yes, Frank. Farnsworth is coming down the street. Something happened. Farnsworth has just collapsed. The parade has stopped. The crowd seems stunned. He may have fainted. They've driven his heart to his side. They're trying to rouse him. I'll know as soon as I can find out just wrong. Good Lord. John, did that blue light have anything to do with Farnsworth's collapse just now? Yes, Frank. It caused his collapse. Now, the window, please.
Yes, John.
Now the radio. Stop. We will not need it. We're down. Sorry, Frank. Hey, look here. What's going on? What are you two up to?
We have just killed Farrington Farnsworth.
Just killed? Yes. We haven't much time. Susie, better pack.
Of course.
We will talk while we pack, Frank. Farnsworth has had a heart attack. In a minute, he will be dead. That blue light caused the heart attack. It is a weapon very popular at 2238. The secret police use it a lot. Good Lord. It's a favorite weapon of Farrington Farnsworth the 8th. It helps him keep slaves quiet. Then you lied to me.
Yes, we lied to you. We came back to your time in order to assassinate the first Farrington Farnsworth before he could ever become powerful. We came back to prevent the future from happening. We came back to remove one man, keep the world free.
I get it. Think about it, and you will. We are leaders of an underground dedicated to freeing the world of 2220. Our scientists perfected a time machine. We cannot fight the Farnsworth dictatorship in our own time. We came back to eliminate it in advance. In the future, all those things you told me won't happen.
We hope not.
It's what we're trying to prevent. But Susie, you were a direct descendant of Farrington Farnsworth. Now, if he dies without any children, where will that leave you?
I am afraid it will not leave me any place, Frank. I just will not ever have existed, that's all. And, John, my darling.
Susie.
Hold me close. I feel so strange and far away. I think Farnsworth must be dying.
I will hold you, Susie. Oh, Susie. Susie, if it could only be different.
John, John.
Susie. She's gone. She vanished. She just went out. Like a light going out. Yes. Like a light going out. Susie has never been born, Frank. Never existed. Farnsworth is dead. Dead. I understand, but to vanish, it is the place of freedom for the world. The whole future is different. I will go back to a world I don't even know. Now stand back, Frank. I'm signaling them to turn on the time transmitter and pull me back to 22:28. Back in my own time, they hear that. They will be activating the apparatus. I'll be gone in a moment, Frank. But what will I tell people? Do not tell them anything. They may lock you up in a sanitarium if you do. Remember, the doctors will say Farnsworth died of a heart attack. There will be no proof he has been murdered. Now, goodbye, Frank. You're getting all misty, transparent. I can see through you. John. Goodbye, Frank. Goodbye. Be happy with Mabel. Remember, I predicted you would be famous. Forget about us. Forget about us. He's gone. And the trucks, everything they brought with them, is gone. Everything just gone. Well, that's the story, folks. It happened just this afternoon. John and Susie Dean from the year 2228 assassinated a man who would have become dictator. And I can't prove it. In fact, I wouldn't even have told you this, but Mabel, she felt we had to tell. Just before she went to the hospital, she made me a promise. The shock of what happened, well, it hurried things up, and we sent for the doctor right away after John vanished. We hurried her off. I'm waiting now for word that everything's all right, and I decided I'd tell you the story while I waited. You see, excuse me, his telephone, maybe the hospital. Hello? Hello? Yes, Dean. What's that? The boy? Oh, fine. How's my wife? Good. Tell her I'll be right over. What? You said it was a boy. Yeah, but I don't understand. Oh. Well, no. Oh, no, it can't be. They said everything's all right. That's a boy, but not just one boy. 6 boys. Well, oh, so that's what John... That's what he meant when he said he could give me half a dozen reasons why we were going to be famous. This is the mysterious service. Did you enjoy our little visit from people of the future? Oh, there are some questions you'd like to ask me? Well, I'm glad to answer them just as soon as the program is over. We only have a minute left, you know. Oh, you have to get off here. I'm sorry. I'm sure we'll meet again. I think the same thing every week at this same time.
The Strange Dr. Weird.
Good evening. Come in, won't you? You seem a bit nervous. Perhaps a story would take your mind off whatever's worrying you. I have one I'm sure you'll like. It takes place on a tiny island in the mystery-haunted South Pacific. I call it White Pearls of Freedom. And now for my story, White Pearls of Terror. In the small harbor of the tiny island of Barota, a barren, desolate bit of coral lost in the South Pacific, a dilapidated pearling boat rides at anchor. In a trading shack of corrugated iron on the shore, two burly, bearded white men watch a half-breed merchant gather together supplies, listening as they wait to the monotonous beating of a native drum in the darkness outside.
For Pete's sake, Wong, what's that infernal racket anyway?
Honored father sacrificed his chicken to turn away anger of the storm god, Captain Blake.
Well, tell him to stop it. It's getting on my nerves.
Take it easy, Blake. We'll be going in a few minutes. The glass is falling fast, and there is a storm coming up. We're in the typhoon season now, you know.
And I'll be plenty glad to see the last of this rotten speck of coral, believe me. Even though we're leaving with empty pockets, we can't go too soon.
Wong, sorry you'll find no pearls. Another year better, maybe. Here are supplies. $11, please.
All right, pay him, Phelps.
In a moment. Wong, why do you and your father live all alone here on Barota? Don't you ever find it lonely?
Wong, an honored father, never lonely, Mr. Phelps.
You know, Wong, in Tahiti, I met a native who knew you. He told me your mother was Chinese and your father used to be a Tahiti witch doctor.
It's true. You pay now, please?
He told me something else, too. He said the two of you live here because you know a secret pearling bed down the reef.
No.
And that hidden in that stinking back room of yours, you have a leather bag full of the finest white pearls that ever came out of the South Seas.
No, it's not true.
I think it is. Grab him, Blake.
No, look, no.
Stand still, Wong, or I'll break your arm.
It's not true, Wong. An honored father had no pearls.
Can I say it is? Oh. And so we're not leaving Barota with empty hands. Before we leave, Wong, you're going to tell us where you keep those pretty white pearls.
Phelps, I'm going out there and put a bullet through that infernal witch doctor father of Wong's. That drum is driving me crazy.
Oh, stop it, Blake. We got to finish with Wong and get away. There's a storm coming up, and we got to be well offshore when it hits.
All right, then, make him talk.
A little more pressure on this cord round his forehead.
Oh.
Yeah, well, Wong.
Yes. Wong down. Oh.
Yeah, it's more like it. Where are they?
The corner behind you. A board is loose.
Take a look, Blake.
Right, you are. Yeah, there's a loose board here, all right. And a little leather pouch under it. I've got it.
Bring it here. Let's take a look.
Yeah, hold out your hand. I'll pour them out. Oh, look. 6 white pearls as big as marble.
Only 6. And there should be more. Where are the rest?
Oh, no more, please. 6 pearls all.
Wait a minute. I think he's telling the truth. Phelps, listen to that thunder, will you? We got to get outside the reefs in a hurry.
All right. I thought there'd be more. But these 6 will do nicely. They should bring a couple of thousand apiece. In 2 months, we'll be in San Francisco living like kings.
No, too late.
What do you mean?
Listen.
The drum. It's getting louder. Listen to it.
Now it stopped.
And God of the storm has answered. Prayer of honored father for vengeance accepted.
What are you talking about?
Honored father knows you touch your Wong. In the darkness, he makes prayer to bring punishment. Now he will make sacrifice. Listen.
What was that?
Honored father makes greater sacrifice to his gods. He gives his own life. Now you have pearls. But they bring you only evil. They bring you death. The creeping death that walks with you in life. When you hear the drums, think of the father of Wang and the death.
Shut him up, will you? Make him stop. Shut him up.
Oh,
Yeah, that's that. Now they're both dead. Come on, we got to get to the boat.
Hey, Phelps. Huh? Listen to that wind. It's too late. We can't get away. We can't get away.
Our story will continue in a moment. But first, is there a doctor in the house?
Young man, I am a doctor.
Oh, so you are, Dr. Weird, after a fashion. But can you handle this case?
Well, I cure all cases. Permanently.
Well, here are the facts. The patient is seen frequently in business offices, on street corners, everywhere. His clothes are always neat, impeccably stylish, yet something about him just isn't right. Brief diagnosis shows he's in perfect shape, except for his hat. Gentlemen, this may be your case. Too often, a poorly made, shapeless hat can spoil your whole appearance. Don't take chances. Choose a smart, up-to-the-minute Adam. They're correctly shaped and styled and made of the finest all-fur felt. No wonder men who are tops in the business, sport, and entertainment world wear an Adam. For Adam is tops in hats. So stop in at any Adam store or authorized dealer. There are thousands from coast to coast, and set yourself up in a nice new Adam hat. Now, Dr. Weird.
And now to continue my story, White Pearls of Terror. For 2 days, a typhoon raged over the tiny island of Barota, while Phelps and Blake cowered inside the trading shack that had belonged to the dead half-breed merchant Wong. The wind hurled their boat on the reef and sank it, blew down most of the palm trees on the island, carried away the storehouse where Wong's provisions had been kept. When at last the wind died and the sun shone again, Blake and Phelps crawled out of the shack to stare dazedly at a scene of utter desolation.
Phelps, look, the boat's gone. We're stranded here. I tell you, we're stranded here.
Oh, stow it, Blake. There'll be a trading vessel along soon.
Yeah, but suppose there isn't. We'll die here. The grub's all been washed away. The palm trees are down. We'll starve to death. It's the curse. The curse Wong's father put on us. We shouldn't have taken the pearls. We shouldn't have taken them.
I said stow it. Suppose we have to stay here a few months. We got the shack for shelter, and we can live on shellfish. We still got the pearls. When we do get away, we'll live like kings.
We'll never get away. We're going to die here. All during the storm, I heard that drum beating, the witch doctor's drum, telling us we're going to die here.
Take a grip on yourself, will you? Wong's dead. And the old witch doctor's dead, too. Their bodies are gone. The sharks have finished them by now. When we're rescued, we only had to say they were killed in a storm. And we'll be in the clear. We'll be all right.
No, the drum. I heard it beating. We'll never get away. We're going to die.
This'll shut you up. Oh, yeah. I say we're going to be all right.
The days became weeks, and the weeks became months. Blake and Phelps lived on shellfish and coconuts and drank rainwater. Day after day, they scanned the horizon, a sign of a rescue ship. And day after day, Blake's despair mounted.
Blake, come on, get up. It's your turn to go down to the beach and dig clams and keep an eye out for a ship.
No, it's no use. We're never going to be rescued.
We may be rescued today. Come on now, turn out.
I tell you, we're going to stay here forever. We're going to die here.
We're still alive, ain't we?
Alive. Nothing to eat but clams and crabs and coconuts. I'd rather be dead. You hear me? I'd rather be dead.
I tell you, we're going to be rescued. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow. Listen. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear anything.
There it goes again. Don't you understand? It's a ship. We're as good as rescued right now.
I didn't hear anything except the drum. The old witch doctor's drum. Beating again, just like it did that night.
Blake, get hold of yourself. Come on. I'll prove that was a ship we heard. Here, come on down to the shore.
The drum. I can hear the drum.
Look, Blake. A British gunboat off the reefs. And a ship's boat heading for the shore. We're saved.
No, it's too late. The drum. He said when we heard the drum to remember his vengeance. The creeping death.
Blake, get hold of yourself, will you? They see us. They're calling us.
Oh, we're saved. And we got the pearls. In a month we'll be in San Francisco living like kings.
No, it's too late. The drum is beating. It's bewitching the pearls. We haven't got any pearls anymore. They've stuck to your face now. Little round pearls. 2 of them, 3 of them. They're stuck to your face.
No, I tell you there's no drums beating. It's just your mind. It's a...
There. Now you hear it too, don't you?
No. But on your face. 2 little white spots. Silvery white spots.
Yes, they're the pearls that have been bewitched. The drum. You listen to it?
Go on, Blank. Oh, silvery spots.
The drum. It won't stop.
Blank, we've been on this island almost a year. Living in that stinking little shack where Wong and his father lived. Eating out of their dishes. Sleeping in their blankets.
It's louder and louder.
No, I know why Wong and his father lived here all alone. They didn't want anyone to know. That's what the marks on our face mean. The creeping death.
The drum. It says that we're never going to get away. That we're going to die here.
Yes, you're right. We are going to die here someday. Because now nobody's ever going to take us off the island. Wong and his father were lepers. And now we're lepers too. Since we've been on this island, we've both become lepers.
Well, how do you feel now? Perhaps what you really need to steady your nerves is a nice trip. A voyage to the South Seas. You could stop at Baroda and meet Phelps and Blake. Yes, they're still living there, quite alone. They'd welcome a little company and... Oh, you're going? We'll drop in again soon. I'm always home. Just look for the house on the other side of the cemetery. The house of Dr. Weird.
Unsolved Mysteries. People have seen and reported visual phenomena in the heavens that could not be explained in the light of man's technology. For want of a better phrase, these phenomena have been lumped together under the cumbersome title of Unidentified Flying Objects. They've been dismissed as a form of mass hysteria. They've been explained away as being comets, balloons, experimental craft, or the reflection of a spotlight on clouds. But we're still left with a handful of sightings that not even the most determined doubter can explain away. Objects that are referred to by the American Air Force as unknowns. And these unknowns represent possibly the most intriguing, certainly the most significant of all unsolved mysteries.
South Pole, June 18, 1965. Members of the Chilean exploration team, including scientific personnel and a meteorologist, sighted a gigantic object in the sky, extremely brilliant but solid, shaped like a huge double-convex lens. It frequently changed speed, and at one stage hovered motionless at an altitude of about 3 miles. The Chilean Antarctic commander, Mario Barrera, said, "I do not believe that this could be an aircraft of terrestrial manufacture. Nothing similar exists on Earth in shape, velocity, or mobility in space."
Uralsk, Southern Russia, May 30th, 1958. At the lonely airport just outside the town, some 30 people, including 2 American tourists and an Englishman, saw a flying object like a star of the second magnitude, the shape of a disembodied light. It came from the north, very bright in the sky, made as if to land on the airfield and hovered motionless for a few minutes. After this, it rose vertically and at a great speed and disappeared in the heavens.
Fife, Scotland, October the 24th, 1963. A boy of 12 and his sister, aged 8, reported seeing an object in the sky resembling the wing-tip light of an aeroplane. It moved from north to south until it reached Procyon, where it circled round the star and disappeared. The boy made a detailed drawing and sent it to the Air Force Command. He later received this acknowledgement. "Dear Master McLean, your presentation of this sighting was one of the most complete of all the unidentifieds of 1963, and we have so stated in our brochure."
Flagstaff, Arizona, July the 5th, 1947.
Dr. V.M. Slipper, director of the famed Lowell Observatory, said that he had not noticed any flying saucers over Arizona, but added, "You can find anything you want to find in the heavens if you look long enough."
You can find anything you want to find in the heavens if you look long enough. A comforting philosophy and a statement that contains a degree of truth. If you stare at anything long enough, it will change color, change shape, appear to move. But from the vantage point of 1968, this comforting phrase is inadequate. The reports have become so frequent, so well documented, that even the most skeptical scientists are beginning to believe that they cannot all be explained away. The most recent report comes from the middle New York State community of Ithaca, where no less than 800 unidentified flying objects have been sighted since October last year. But there was one incident that impressed even the most hard-boiled reporters who covered the story. The adventure of a young Ithaca housewife called Rita Malley. A few months ago, Rita drove out to visit a friend who lived in a nearby suburb, taking her 5-year-old son Dana with her. She stayed longer than she intended and started to drive home fairly fast so that she'd not be late in preparing her husband's dinner. It was a grey winter's evening with slight flurries of snow and a strong wind that forced her to keep a firm grip on the wheel. It was about 7 o'clock when she reached a long, deserted stretch of road with no houses, just fields and hills and woods on both sides. It was then that the interior of the car was suddenly lit up with a brilliant red light.
Funny. Must be coming from behind it. Uh-oh. Probably the cops. Speeding. Better slow down. John wouldn't be exactly pleased if I got a ticket for speeding.
You all right, Donna?
Yeah, I'm okay, Mommy. Bit tired.
Never mind. Soon be home. There's the cops. Keeping their distance. Yet the light's getting brighter. Now it's changing color. What? Heaven's name. It's a flying saucer. It must be a little dome-like thing on the top. That's where the light's coming from. Take a grip on yourself, Rita. What would a flying saucer want with you? Now it stopped moving. Funny. The car stopped, too. Let's get out of here. But where to? Not a house in sight. Besides, if we're outside, they might... Donna, you all right back there? God, he looks as if he'd been hypnotized. Oh, why won't this damn car move? It's still going, but... Wait a minute. I am moving. Sideways. Oh, this is ridiculous. The saucer's moving, too. It must have taken over control. It's no good. The brakes aren't strong enough. What? I'm off the road. Donald's killed, but I just...
Your son will not make it fast. Stop the car from the side of
the started again, but I've still got no control. Oh, well, at least we're back on the highway. The source is just ahead. There he goes. Donna. Donna?
Yes, Mommy?
You okay, Donna?
Yeah, I'm fine. I must have been asleep.
Did you see what Mommy saw? I didn't see anything.
Good.
We'll soon be home now.
Rita Malley drove home and tried to explain her adventure to her skeptical husband. Then she broke down. That night, she woke up screaming and heard the low, quivering hum of voices all over again. The next day, they received a phone call from an old school friend of Rita's, Marion Donalds. She told Rita that her brother, Paul, had been killed in a tractor accident near Messina. Rita Malley impressed everyone who interviewed her as being a straightforward and honest witness. Whether or not this incident did happen, she obviously believed that it did. The question that immediately springs to mind is, why would these visitors from outer space bother to stop her car just to give her the information that a man whom she'd never met had died? This, as I said, is the latest report on the activities of these mysterious flying saucers. Now let us look back in time at some of the earliest reports, though, as the science fiction writer Eric Frank Russell points out,
a backward search for evidence provides further frustration. For reports tend to be expressed in the terms of the day and age. For example, anything winged and with a tail of flame seen by the ancient Chinese was sure to be recorded as a fiery dragon. In the Middle East and the Mediterranean, these objects would become fiery chariots.
This is very true. And we must guard against the fact that flying saucer addicts are ingenious in their interpretation of history. They date the earliest reports of unidentified flying objects from the days of Ezekiel the prophet.
And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself, and a brightness was about it, and out of the midst thereof, as the colour of amber out of the midst of the fire. Also out of the midst thereof came a likeness of 4 living creatures, and this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man, and every one had 4 faces, and every one had 4 wings. Now as I beheld the living creatures, behold, one wheel upon the earth. The appearance of the wheels and their work was like unto the colour of beryl, and they had one likeness, as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel. As for their wings, they were so high that they were dreadful, and their wings were full of eyes, round about them 4. And when the living creatures went, the wheels went with them. And when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up.
Amazing what you can read into the Bible. And there are those who even suggest that the Star of Bethlehem was a flying saucer. But we must admit that Ezekiel's description does bear a striking resemblance to some of the more recent reports on unidentified flying objects. The Bible is not the only source of inspiration. Consider this report, made in the year 90 B.C.
At Nineveh, while Levius Strosser was promulgating the laws at the beginning of the Italian War, there came at sunrise a terrific noise in the sky, and a burning globe of fire appeared in the north, in the territory of Spoletum. The globe of fire, of golden color, fell to the earth gyrating. It then seemed to increase in size, rose from the earth, and ascended into the sky, where it obscured the sun with its brilliance.
If you care to search for them, there are many such reports in history. Whether or not they refer to flying saucers is, of course, another matter. If they do, it's extraordinary to think that spacemen from another planet were so far advanced over 2,000 years ago. Having reached the stage where we ourselves are contemplating landing on the moon, it's not so difficult to imagine that beings from another planet are already able to conquer space, but 2,000 years ago? Now, it's easy to dismiss these historical allusions because we have no yardstick by which to measure them. Not so easy to dismiss contemporary reports. We not only have a yardstick, but as often as not we have the actual reporter to hand. And allowing for the inevitable number of cranks, we are still left with a hard core of people who are patently honest, people who, on the surface at least, have no apparent reason for making up stories about unidentified flying objects. These reports come from all over the world, and from people in all walks of life.
Sundsvall, northern Sweden, July 9, 1946. A rocket-like object moved at tremendous speed past Stockholm and then fell and crashed near Sundsvall. A well-known physicist, Dr. Binga Backlund, declared that the fragments were not those of a meteor and said that he had found fragments of paper among the debris, indicating that it could not be from a meteorite.
At sea, September the 23rd, 1938. Something called an unknown plane fell into the sea just off Lowestoft. A lifeboat and a tug searched for hours but discovered nothing save an oily patch of water. The next day, an unknown object fell into the sea 5 miles off Felixstowe. Again, an oily patch was found but no wreckage. At the same time, a radio report from Boulogne said that another strange air machine had dropped into the sea off Langate. During this period, no planes were reported missing.
Ray Demick, a business executive, reported that he saw at a military installation near Mexico City the wreckage of a flying saucer powered by 2 motors. The craft was some 46 feet in diameter, built of a metal resembling aluminum, and contained the body of a pilot 23 inches tall who was killed in the crash.
Yes, I agree. The last item starts off plausibly enough, but the imagination boggles at the idea of little men from outer space, a pilot 23 inches tall. But what should we expect? If these unidentified objects exist, presumably they come from outer space and are launched from other planets, Mars and Venus being the 2 most popular contenders. They must be piloted by someone or something, and there is absolutely no reason why he, she, or it should not be 23 inches tall. In the language of flying saucer buffs, those who claim to have met creatures aboard UFOs are called contactees. And one of the most famous of these is a man called George Adamski, who not only claims to have met creatures from outer space, but even wrote a book about a trip that he took on a flying saucer. Recently, Adamski was interviewed on American television by Long John Nagle.
George, and you met the pilot, huh?
Well, it was a man about 5'7" or 8 inches tall, weighing maybe 135 pounds. He had delicate hands and beautiful, very sharp eyes. He looked like they looked straight through you. Sometimes you couldn't hardly tell he was a man or a woman. He started telling me things, but I couldn't understand, and finally I got an idea. I pointed to the sun and made 1 orbit with my hand, called it the planet Mercury, and named it that way. Then I made 2 orbits, called it Venus, 3 orbits, and pointed to myself, Earth. He got the idea, pointed to the sun, and made 1 orbit. That meant Venus. That's how I knew he was a Venetian.
But he couldn't talk with you, George.
Oh, yes, he could talk all right. He was just testing my ability to receive impressions.
When you say impressions, do you mean telepathic impressions?
Now, that is correct. All information received silently.
George, you seem a little doubtful about his sex. Did he tell you he was a man?
He did, but, you know, when nature calls them that way, same as us.
Tell us some more about the spacecraft.
While we were standing there talking, I saw a flash of lights go out, so I pointed the ship and said, "That your ship?" He nodded his head, and we walked across to it. He was making for
that particular Venusian looked very much like us. But according to other contactees, they vary in size, shape, and color. I've been studying the subject of UFOs for some years, and the thing that strikes me most forcibly is that it's a subject which attracts everyone from the most sober, trained observers to the lunatic fringe. Just recently, I bought 2 magazines devoted to the subject of UFOs to see what the latest developments were. Alongside interesting interviews with such people as the missile expert Werner von Braun, Dr. J. Allen Hynek, head of the Dearborn Observatory, and the information officer of the American Air Force, there were articles with such titles as, "They Knew Too Much About Flying Saucers," "Why Are They Watching Us?" and "I Went to Venus and Beyond."
One day, I was standing painting an outdoor advertisement board, and all of a sudden, I was just gone. I just wasn't there. I went out of my earthly body and was taking my astral body to Venus to appear before the galactic command at the great central sun. It was in a tremendously beautiful white building, out of which shone a brilliant light, and out of this light came a voice. Will you agree to be the savior of the world? It didn't really shock me too much, but just at that moment, the whole panorama of my existence on Earth passed before me. If I agreed, it meant that I would be isolated from everyone. I paused only a minute before I answered, yes.
Thus wrote Alan Noonan, self-proclaimed new Messiah, who described the capital of Venus as a city of spirals, a place with no streets. But what is more interesting is that he stated that the Earth was hollow, with great openings at each pole, and the higher Venusian command has bases inside the Earth. Now, this ties up with the theories of Charles Fort, H.S. Bellamy, and the redoubtable Paxson C. Hayes. Hayes discovered the mummified remains of an ancient Mongoloid race in Mexico, and he stated that this race had lived in caves 9,000 feet deep, some 23,000 years ago. Unlike the Saucerians of today, they were large people, some 7 feet tall, and according to Hayes, their ancestors inhabit the center of the Earth. He believes that our atomic explosions disturbed these people, and that they are now anxiously watching our progress from their flying saucers. But more convincing, more disturbing than the theories of Hayes, is a strange document published towards the end of the last century.
I, Olaf Janssen, swear that this is the true story of the voyage to the inner world that my father, Jens Janssen, and I took to the hollow interior of the earth. So help me God.
These two unsophisticated fishermen, Olaf and Jens, accidentally found the opening to the hollow inner world between two icebergs in the North Pole. Fearful but curious, they sailed on.
We could hardly believe our eyes. There were great underground oceans, rivers and lakes. There were wonderfully designed cities, enormous plants, vast jungles where roamed prehistoric monsters. And the whole of this inner world was illuminated by a calm, constant, luminous glow. This world is populated by a race of strange but gentle people, 10 feet tall. They had curious machines that would work.
Yes, you've guessed it, flying saucers. But the curious thing is that the Jensens described many aspects of this subterranean civilization that it's difficult to imagine two simple fishermen dreaming up. It's a fascinating document that makes disturbing reading, even if one does not believe a single word of it. Where do these unidentified objects come from? The center of the Earth? From Mars or Venus? Or even a planet that is so far unknown to us? It's difficult to disentangle the facts from the vast mass of so-called evidence. The American Air Force's Project Blue Book, set up by the government to analyze and investigate the nature of UFOs, has received over 11,000 reports since its files were opened.
July 19th and 20th, 1960 at 9:30 p.m., St. Louis, Missouri. Duration, 20 minutes first night, 30 minutes second night. Number of observers, at least 8 identified. Number of objects, 1. Observer reliability, indeterminable, but so many persons saw the object on both nights that overall reliability must be assumed. Shape, descriptions vary from round to wheeled-like, but had one common factor. All stated that it had a central nucleus around which were revolving lights or flames. Color, bright red, varying in intensity. Sound, none. Altitude, very high. Tactics, the object traveled slowly from the northeast, stopped and then hovered. It then flew straight overhead.
According to the chief of Project Blue Book, at least 98% of reported sightings have been explained as comets, balloons, experimental craft, and the like. But there remains that baffling 2%. On January the 7th, 1948, an unidentified flying object was sighted over the Goodman Air Base at Fort Knox.
Control tower to flight leader. Control tower to flight leader.
Come in control, over.
Captain Mantell, an unidentified object has been sighted from the ground by military and civilian observers. Have you seen anything? Over.
No, I've seen nothing. What's it supposed to look like, over?
It's being described as an ice cream cone topped red. Command would like you to investigate. Over.
Very well, control. Can you give me a bearing, over?
The object is flying at an altitude of approximately...
The 4 National Guard F-51s eventually sighted the object and closed in.
Control, we've sighted it. It's incredible. It's enormous. Round like a teardrop. At times it looks almost fluid. I'm closing in now to take a good look. It's moving at about half my speed. It's going up now, moving as fast as I am. That's 360 miles an hour. I'll go up to 20,000 feet, and if I can't get any closer, I'll abandon chase.
The time was 15:15 hours. That was the last radio contact made by flight leader Captain Mantell with the Goodman Tower. Later that day, his body was found in the wreckage of his plane near Fort Knox. Was Captain Mantell's plane destroyed by the strange craft? It's unlikely that we shall ever know. But that there was a UFO is certain. It was seen by reliable observers on the ground and by all the crew of Mantell's flight. This is one of the cases that still baffles Project Blue Book. One of the unexplained, inexplicable 2%. What possible explanations are there for unidentified flying objects?
Washington, D.C., December 28, 1949. Air Force said today that 2 years of investigation have convinced them that flying saucers are just a joke. It ordered that a special project set up in 1948 to investigate UFOs be abandoned. Analyses indicate that flying objects are 1. Misinterpretation of various conventional objects, 2. A mild form of mass hysteria, 3. Or simply hoax.
London, March the 16th, 1950. It was suggested by the Meteorological Department that flying saucers are atomic clouds or cloudlets of released atomic ingredients arrested by and magnetically collected on sheets or shells of the Earth's magnetic field. Some of these shells have been detected by scientists and called ionospheres.
Los Angeles, April 3rd, 1950. According to radio commentator Henry J. Taylor, flying saucers are actually top-secret U.S. military inventions. These are 2 types. The first are harmless, pilotless discs. The second are flying phantoms, jet-propelled.
Take your pick. Atomic clouds, experimental balloons, top-secret military inventions, or simply a mild form of mass hysteria. I have an open mind about UFOs. Obviously, Project Blue Book was right in dismissing the majority of reports, but there remains that disturbing 2%. The most convincing report that I've read was in fact rejected by Project Blue Book. It's an account by journalist Frank Scully of a meeting with a top magnetic research specialist who, for reasons of security, he calls Dr. G. They met in 1949, when Scully was investigating the subject of flying saucers. As he remarked casually, Dr. G was the man who told me the whole story of the first flying saucer that had landed in the United States.
East of Aztec in New Mexico, there was a group of us called in to investigate this craft. Myself and 7 other magnetic scientists. We studied the ship for 2 days. Finally decided that it was safe to go aboard. The outside surface showed no marking, but there was a broken porthole. We rammed a pole through this, prodded around, and found a knob. When we pushed it, the door flew open. We found 16 bodies inside. They ranged in height from 36 to 42 inches. We took the little bodies out, and I remember one of my team saying, "Their clothing looks like the style of the 1890s. They appear to be normal, that is, like us in every respect, though their skin had been charred." You know, the label flying saucer is a good one. This craft did look like a saucer. The overall dimensions of the ship were a fraction under 100 feet in diameter, We found booklets which probably dealt with navigation, but we couldn't decipher the writing. The ship was constructed without joins or bolts. It was made of a metal resembling aluminum. We also found a radio. It has no tubes, no wire, only one dial, but I haven't yet succeeded in making it work. There's no doubt that the ship works on some kind of magnetic propulsion, but our knowledge of magnetic fields is still in its infancy.
That was part of the evidence of Dr. G. And I must admit that I find his story strangely convincing. But the question remains, where do flying saucers come from? And why are they hovering over our planet? Did they perhaps plant us here as a colony some thousands of years ago and are observing our evolution? Do they covet our natural resources and wish to conquer us? Is their planet dying and thus they need to find somewhere else to live? Or are they simply observing us as specimens? Do they perhaps come from the center of the earth, where they boast an advanced civilization that they do not think we're ready to share with them? Who knows? But it seems likely to me that one way or another, these unidentified flying objects will somehow affect the future of this planet. Until then, they will rank among the most significant of our unsolved mysteries.
Autolite and its 96,000 dealers bring you Mr. Herbert Marshall in tonight's presentation of Suspense. Tonight, Autolite presents a spy story, the true story of that series of events known as The 39 Steps, starring Mr. Herbert Marshall.
Oh, hello.
Yes, Hap?
What was that all about?
Well, I was just demonstrating the Autolite electrical system, Hap.
You were?
Sure. It goes to work every time you start your car, sound the horn, play the radio, or turn on your lights or heater.
The electrical system does all that?
Sure, Hap. The Autolite coil, distributor, generator, and all the other units and thousands of component parts. They're all related by Autolite engineering design and manufacturing skill and used as original factory equipment on many leading makes of our finest cars. So, friends, when your Autolite-equipped car needs replacement parts, insist on Autolite original factory parts. Be sure, because from bumper to tail light, you're always right with Autolite. And now, with the 39 steps and the performance of Mr. Herbert Marshall, Autolite hopes once again to keep you in suspense.
Of course, I realize these are trying times and all that. You have your worries about foreign spies and atomic secrets and the usual international rows. But don't get the wind up. You'll muddle through somehow, take my word for it. And I know whereof I speak. We had our troubles, too, in our day, you know. Jolly serious they seemed at the time, I can tell you. For instance, did you ever hear of the 39 Steps? It was in the spring of 1914. I'd spent the last 10 years on the African veldt in the Bulawayo country. Made a modest little pile and come back home to enjoy it. The only difficulty was I didn't enjoy it. There was something wrong about England and about London for me. And then I realized what it was. It was dull. I had nothing to do and I was plain, simply bored. That is, I was until that memorable evening when I returned to my flat near Portland Place. It was the first floor front, and I was in the hall, fitting my key in the lock, when a little man with a bowler hat stepped out of the shadows from beyond the door to the next flat back. I saw that he was frightened. He was carrying it off well enough, but he was frightened, as I had seen men frightened before. Frightened of his very life.
You're Mr. Richard Hanai, aren't you?
Yes, that's right.
Can I speak to you a minute?
What about?
Inside, if you don't mind.
Oh, very well, if you wish. Come in.
Thanks. Thanks a lot. That door locked?
No, but
I'll do it myself if it's all the same to you. I know you must think I've got a lot of nerve, but there are times when a man just can't be too careful.
No, I suppose there are. Well, won't you come in by the fire?
Thanks. I had a hunch you were the kind of guy I could trust.
Whiskey and soda?
Yes, I could sure use one. I guess you're wondering who I am.
American, aren't you?
That's right. Scudder is the name. Frank P. Scudder. I have the apartment right over yours. I've had an eye on you ever since my troubles began.
Really? Here's your drink. Good Lord, man, don't drop it.
Yes, I'm a little shaky. You see, if you'd come along about 5 minutes later, I'd probably be a dead man.
I say. Well, cheerio.
Here's to you.
Now, chap, what's on your mind?
Did you ever hear of a Greek politician named Karolides?
No, I can't say that I have. Got it in for you, has he?
He hasn't got it in for me. They've got it in for both of us, Karolides and me.
They? Who's they?
The Schwarzerstein, the Black Stone.
Schwarzerstein? Black Stone? Sounds like some sort of German sporting society.
Well, you're not far off at that. But it's not the kind of sport you're thinking about. Their sport, Mr. Hanai, is war.
Sounds serious.
It is serious. It's deadly serious. But let me start from the beginning. I guess you know that all the countries over here have their spies, including your own.
One hears of that sort of thing, naturally.
Well, it's true. I'm with your people. The only trouble is I've gotten in a little deeper than I figured on.
Sounds like interesting work.
Well, it is if you can stay alive. And right now, that's my big problem. Because tomorrow morning it will be announced that this Karolides has been appointed Prime Minister of Greece, and that he's going to pay an official visit to England. He'll arrive on the 3rd. On the 4th, he'll be assassinated. I'm the only man in the world who can prevent it, and they know that.
By they, you mean the German chaps?
Yes, that's right. And that's why they're after me.
Well, if you want my advice, I'd say there's nothing to it. Simply go to the authorities.
No good, no good. They'd find out about it, and then they just change their plans.
You know your business, I suppose. Still, I hardly see how the murder of an obscure Balkan politician can very well involve anyone in war.
That will only be the incident. There's something else, something I can't tell you about yet. Not even sure about it myself. But believe me, Mr. Hanai, unless I am alive until the 5th, your country will be at war. This is all pretty hard for you to swallow, isn't it?
Well, you must admit it's rather a tall tale.
Now, let me show you something. Come over here by the window for a minute. Now, pull the blinds. Very carefully. Tell me what you see.
A couple of chaps loafing in a doorway.
Doesn't it strike you as pretty late for people to be loafing in doorways?
Waiting for someone, I suppose.
That's right. They're waiting for me.
Oh, I see.
I'll even describe them to you. One is short, heavy-set, dark. The other is tall, young, blonde. Am I right?
Yes, by Jove, you are.
They are the Black Stone, Mr. Hanai. And there's another one who isn't even with them. The head man. He's older than either of these two. Chubby, thick glasses like a professor. One of his eyes looks milky, like he was getting a cataract. And he's completely bald. If you ever run across him, Mr. Hanai, watch out.
I don't intend to run across him.
Can I stay here in your place for a few days? Lie low until I can get my plans figured out again? Just a few days, that's all I ask.
Well, I can't very well turn you out in the street at this time of night after what you've told me, can I? Come along, I have an extra room, fortunately. Nothing posh, but comfortable enough.
Thank you, thank you.
There you are. Suit you?
Oh, it looks like heaven to me.
Righto. Ready to turn in, then, are you?
Yes. Listen, I'm very sorry to trouble you.
That's quite all right. You don't mind if I lock the door, do you? From my side.
You still think maybe I'm crazy, huh? Maybe those two guys outside are my keepers.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
Now, go ahead, lock the door. In fact, it'll make me feel better.
Right you are.
And Mr. Hanai.
Yeah?
I'll be grateful to you until the day I die.
It was a queer sort of yarn. I didn't quite know what to make of it. Matter of fact, I was more than half inclined to think the poor fellow was a bit balmy. But I wasn't so sure after I got my London Times at the front door next morning and had a look at the foreign page. Because there was a story about this Greek chap, Karolides, just as he told me. New Prime Minister planning a trip to England and all the rest. I went to Scudder's door and knocked. There was no answer, so I ventured to unlock the door and poke my head in. The shade was flapping at a wide-open window, which was natural enough. Americans are fiends for fresh air. But there was something else that was not at all natural. For Scudder lay sprawled on his side across the bed, his face white as a sheet, his mouth working as he tried to speak to me.
And the steps.
Scudder, what's the matter?
Find the steps. Low tide. The 5th. The 39th steps.
And then he rolled over on his face, quite dead. and I saw the knife. It was buried in his back to the hilt. When I got myself in hand, I began to think. It wasn't very pleasant thinking. Here I had hold of some sort of information that a man had just been killed for. And if I went to the police, the odds were good they'd hang me for his murder. Got to make a run for it, I thought, until I can think things through. Head for open country. Scotland would be best. And then I thought of something else. I crossed the room and looked carefully out of the window to the street below. There they were, sure enough, the same two lads. Not waiting for Scudder now, waiting for me. Suddenly Scotland seemed a very long way off. And all at once I heard the sound that was my inspiration, the milkman rattling his cans on the stairs outside my flat. I ran to the door and opened it. I say, my good man.
Hi, morning, Governor. What's up?
I'd like to have a word with you.
Oh, what about? I'm late enough as it is.
About making a sovereign for yourself. Step inside, will you?
Oh, well, I'm not one to turn down good coin of the realm. What's the game?
I want the loan of your cap and jacket and your milk cans for just 5 minutes. It's for a bet.
Well, I don't know. I'll tell you what, if you could make it £2.
Done. Here you are.
Righto, I'll never say I'm a man to spoil a bit of sport.
Thanks. Now, all you have to do is to stay here until I get back.
Right you are. Governor, pull the cap down a bit more. There you are. As proper a milkman as ever, I see.
Fine, now give me the cans.
Right.
And just wait here, understand?
Right. Only 5 minutes now.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
And mind you don't jostle that milk about.
Oh, stop worrying and shut up.
Well, all right, there's no need to get shirty.
I opened the door and stepped out briskly onto the street. The two lads across the way looked at me sharply. But I kept on until I'd rounded the corner. It was only then I heard them coming after me. I crossed the milk cans over a wall and began to run. And I ran as I've never run before or since. I had caught the Northern Express from St. Pancras Station by a matter of inches. And for the moment I felt safe. I had a third-class compartment to myself except for an old codger who dozed most of the time. And during the restless, sleepless night, I tried to get my thoughts together and hit upon some plan of action. As it happened, the matter was taken quite out of my hands. For at Newcastle, my traveling companion had bought a morning paper.
See here in the paper that our Foreign Office is meeting with the French, making agreement in case of war.
Really?
They're mapping out a plan of mutual defense, disposition of our fleet, all that sort of thing.
Very wise, I should say.
Here's a jolly bit. Another murder.
Murder?
Some fellow named Hanai did in another chap with a knife.
Have they found him?
Not yet. A Portland Place murderer, they call him. Give you a description. Tall, fair, about 30, small moustache. Silly business. It could be most anybody. It could be you, for that matter. You answer fairly well to that.
Yes, I suppose I do.
Thought to be traveling north, it said. You see, that could be you, too. Police must be stupid fellows to think that they can nab him with that sort of flimsy stuff.
Yes. Police notoriously stupid, of course.
Hello. Wonder what they're stopping for.
Or let a train go by, a goods train, possibly.
Schedule's all hashed up lately. Don't run things the way they used to. I say, guard.
Yes, sir?
Step in here a moment, will you? Now, what's the delay?
A local constabulary getting on, sir. Looking for the murderer.
The Portland Place fellow?
That's right. They've got his pictures on this train.
Have they really? I said, what a lark.
Well, I think I'll step down for a bit of air.
We can't leave the train now, sir.
Why not?
Police order, sir.
Sorry.
Here, hold on.
Take your hands off me.
Here, help me. Hold him. It's the murderer. Oh, the Portland Place murderer.
When I topped the rise of the moor, I saw they had men fanning out in every direction. They would soon have me hopelessly surrounded. There was only one chance. A country house a few hundred yards away. Nothing for it but to throw myself on the mercy of the owner.
Yes?
sorry to bother you, but I'm in a bit of trouble. Could I come in?
Well, I'm just leaving, going out for a walk. Those police after you?
Yes, I was on the London train. They stopped it down there. I'm suspected of something I can assure you I didn't do.
London train. Come in quickly.
Thank you.
They're coming up to the door. Just nip into this wardrobe closet until they're gone.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
I'll just close the door after you. You'll be all right there for a bit.
Sorry to intrude, Professor, but we're looking for a fugitive from justice. You haven't seen any strange men about, have you?
Oh, I can't say that I have.
Don't like to be alarming, sir, but the man's a murderer and he's dangerous.
Sure you'll find no murderers here. You're welcome to search the ground.
Very good, sir.
All right. You may come out now.
Oh, thank you. I must say you did that beautifully, and I can't tell you how grateful I am.
And I'm grateful to you, Mr. Hanai.
You know who I am?
Indeed I do. And I would have turned you away if you hadn't been so persistent. Stupid of me not to guess immediately, but in my wildest dreams I wouldn't have hoped to catch you on my own doorstep.
Catch me? Who are you?
You don't know? I suppose that's because in your wildest nightmares you wouldn't dream of walking right into my house. Or maybe it's this hat I'm wearing and the light's not too bright. One moment. There now, Mr. Hanai. Can you guess?
I've never seen him before, but Scudder had described him to a T. The head man of the Black Stone, chubby, thick glasses like a professor, completely bald. One of his eyes, milky. And I remembered Scudder saying, if you run across him, Mr. Hanai, watch out. Well, here I'd run across him sure enough. And while I was gathering my wits, I sensed something. There was someone behind me. I moved, but not in time. Something came down with a sickening crash on the back of my head, and I felt myself falling through black and bottomless infinity.
Autolite is bringing you Mr. Herbert Marshall in The 39 Steps, tonight's production in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Well, Hap, how's the team?
Oh, you mean our basketball team, Harlow?
No. I mean the Autolite team in your Autolite-equipped car. That team of Autolite electrical system units, including the coil, distributor, generator, starting motor, and all their thousands of component parts. Why, they're all related by Autolite engineering design and manufacturing skill to give your car the smoothest performance money can buy.
That Autolite electrical system does a big job, Harlow?
You said it, Hap, and it's vitally important to the smooth and efficient operation of your Autolite-equipped car.
Then I'm off to treat my car to a checkup at an Autolite service station.
Right, Hap. And friends, visit your car dealer or nearest authorized Autolite service station. You'll find the authorized Autolite service station nearest you listed in the classified section of your telephone directory. Or call Western Union by number and ask for Operator 25. And remember, from bumper to tail light, you're always right with Autolite.
And now, Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Mr. Herbert Marshall in Elliot Lewis's production of The 39 Steps, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
I came to my senses with a raging headache and found that I was locked in a sort of storage room with a heavy bolted door and barred windows. Climbing to the window, I saw that it was nearly dusk and that there was a powerful touring car sitting in the drive. I surmised that they were only waiting for dark to dispose of me permanently. But while I was taking mournful stock of my seemingly hopeless surroundings, I heard something that made my heart leap. Someone at the door. I hit him on the back of the neck as hard as I could. Seconds later, I was at the wheel of the touring car and speeding out into open country. I drove. All night I drove on the white roads that ribbon the moor, circling, doubling, climbing. At dawn I drove off the road into a narrow vale among tall fir trees, and I stayed there, hidden among the trees, till nearly dusk. I drove all the next night until I reached a fishing village called Rough. There I came to a kind of pass where the chimney of a solitary house sent up a plume of smoke. In the distance, the sea. The road swung over a bridge, and leaning on the parapet was a young man. I drew up beside him. Good evening. Is that place an inn?
At your service, sir. I'm the landlord.
You're rather young to be an innkeeper.
Well, it wasn't my choice of a profession. You see, I wanted to write books.
Well, an innkeeper should make a good storyteller.
Aye, maybe in the old days when you had pilgrims and ballad singers and highwaymen.
But there's even more adventure out on these roads today, if you have eyes to see it. Maybe you're rubbing shoulders with it right now.
You think so?
Put me up for the night. Give me a hot supper, and I'll tell you a true tale. And a month from now, you can make it into a novel. Well, I pitched him a lovely yarn. I altered details, but I put in some of the truth. Told him I was a mining magnate from Kimberley who had crossed a gang of cutthroats. I told him they'd chased me across the ocean, killed my best friend in Portland Place, and now they were on my tracks. And on top of that, the police thought I had done the killing. He believed every word. He was young, but he was the man I needed. He told me I could stay as long as I liked, and nobody would know. And the only pay he wanted was more stories about my adventures. So, 2 pleasant days went by. I stayed in my room, ate in my room, and I began to breathe easier. No sign of the Black Stone, and no more alarming news in the papers about the Portland Place murder. Then one night...
23 pages of newsprint and not a story in all of it.
Oh?
Politics is all. Assassins. Shot some Greek chap in London, Carolides.
Carolides? Just as Scudder said.
You know him?
Oh, no, I've heard about him.
And look here, defense pacts, meetings between us and the French. Just gives those silly Frenchmen an excuse for a trip. Did you see their picture in the London paper I brought back this afternoon?
I didn't notice it, no.
Oh, I have it over here on the desk. There's a picture of them going into the final meeting. I never saw such an idiotic-looking crew in my life. Here. That one with his little mustache, looking like he smells something bad. And that young slim one there, rolling his eyes for the ladies, I'll bet. And look at that chubby chap with the thick glasses. He looks blind in one eye. What? Whatever's the matter, sir? You look like you just caught sight of Beelzebub.
I had. I'd seen Satan himself. The head man of the German Black Stone was looking placidly out at me from that newspaper picture. He'd been there with the French delegation. He'd attended those secret meetings. And now the plans for the defense of England and France, for the disposition of the British fleet, were in his hands, on their way to Germany. That was what Scudder hadn't been able to tell me. But he'd said something just before he died. Low tide, the 5th. Did he mean they were sailing at low tide on the 5th? But from what point? Sailing in what? I excused myself and went into the bar of the inn. It was crowded with fishermen playing darts, drinking, arguing about the day's catch.
Here you are, sir. A pint of half and half.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, here. Give me another drink.
Are you not taking a wee bit too much there, Ralph?
Oh, had a rotten day. Rotten luck. 8 blessed hours. I was anchored off the 39 steps. Didn't haul in more than 2 dozen for the whole...
39 steps. 39 steps. That was what Scudder said. The steps at low tide. Bartender.
Aye, sir. I fill it up again.
If you don't mind. Thought I'd do some fishing tomorrow. How do I get to the 39 steps?
Oh, you'll find a sort of a track out over the headland. That takes you there.
Uh-huh. Are there really 39 of them?
Well, you know, sir, I've never counted them. I've been down them 2 or 3 times, too, going to the cave. Just have a look around, you can. Oh, that cave gives me the creeps. Here, sir, where are you going? You owe me 3 and 5.
Oh, sorry.
What
What's your big hurry, my boy?
Sorry, officer.
Haven't seen you around Rook before. Here, let me take a look.
No, some of the time,
Hey, you look a lot like that fellow they're after. Portland Place murder, they call him. You just come along with me. Wait! You won't get away! The murderer! It's the murderer!
He was older and heavier than I, so I outdistanced him easily enough. But it was only a question of time. I had to work fast. Find the steps. Find where they led. I ran all the way to the edge of the headland overlooking the sea. The sky was overcast and it was dark as my pocket. I stumbled along, barking my shins on rock and scratching my face and hands at the gorse. Then I found them. Narrow steps carved in the face of the cliff, leading down. I felt my way along the rock wall, going down step by step. They led into the cliff itself. I counted them as I went. 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. The steps ended on what seemed to be a wide shelf of rock. I strained my eyes in the blackness of the cave and gradually made out the dull sheen of water. Below me was an underground lake that seemed to rise and fall with the movement of the sea. I was too intent on seeing if there was a boat of any kind in that strange underground harbor, so I didn't hear footsteps behind me until I was pinned in the beam of a torchlight.
Mr. Van Eyck.
Who?
What have you found? I heard the excitement. They're looking for you. I brought you a gun.
Tell me, can boats sail into this lake?
Boats? Aye, a rowboat, maybe. The water is deep, but there's no headroom.
It's nearly low tide now, isn't it?
Almost to the minute.
Submarine! A submarine doesn't need headroom. Give me your light. Now, look. Isn't that an underground stream coming in from the left?
What's that?
Something coming down the stream.
A dory. 3 men in it.
There they are. Spies, give it the gun. Now run and get help.
Quickly. Right you are, sir.
Who's there? Who is that?
I have a gun this time, Professor.
Mr. Van Eyck. Quickly. No, keep going.
Surrender, Professor, or I shoot. 7 weeks later, as all the world knows, we were at war. The German had been so certain of success that his plans were by then too far in motion to be halted. For myself, I served as an officer of infantry throughout the show. But I like to think I did my best bit before ever I went into uniform.
Suspense, presented by Autolite. Tonight's star, Mr. Herbert Marshall. This is Harlow Wilcox speaking for Autolite, world's largest independent manufacturer of automotive electrical equipment. Autolite is proud to serve the greatest names in the industry. That's why during the early months of '52, the Autolite family will join in saluting the leading car manufacturers who install Autolite products as original equipment. Our Autolite family is made up of the nearly 30,000 men and women in 28 great Autolite plants from coast to coast and in still other Autolite plants in many foreign countries. Our family also includes more than 18,000 people who have invested a portion of their savings in Autolite, as well as 96,000 Autolite distributors and dealers in the United States and thousands more in Canada and throughout the world. Our Autolite family will salute Crosley Motors on the next Autolite Suspense television program. If you live in a television area, check the day and time of Suspense on television so that you'll be sure to see this program. And remember, be with us next week for another thrilling Autolite Suspense program on radio. Next week on Suspense, our star will be Mr. Joseph Cotton in a story about 3 people adrift in mid-Atlantic, each wanting the other dead. A tale we call A Watery Grave. In weeks to come, we shall also present Frank Lovejoy and Robert Young, all on Suspense. Suspense is produced and directed by Elliot Lewis, with music composed by Lucian Morowick and conducted by Lud Gluskin. The 39 Steps was adapted for Suspense by Sylvia Richards from the book by John Buchan. Featured in the cast were Tudor Owen, Joseph Kearns, Ben Wright, William John Stone, Charles Davis, Byron Kane, and Raymond Lawrence.
Herbert Marshall may be heard each week in his own radio program, The Man Called X. This is the CBS Radio Network.